Today to discuss item number 12, employee benefit plan proposals. And I'd like to start out by asking Commissioner Clayton to discuss the process we went through and how we ended up with the three brokers that we have.
Well, the insurance has changed so much that I think some of the brokers can't hardly keep up with it. But we made a shot at it, took a shot at it, and I think this board remembers appointing a committee to look at that. Commissioner Newell and I were appointed to serve on that committee, and we narrowed it. I think we had 11 to start with, and we narrowed it down to 3, and one of them being the carrier that we have right now. And it was a unanimous decision by that group to bring these 3 back before this board so that you all could take a look at what they've got. It gets quite complicated. The top 3 were selected by their price, based on the 425 enrolled individuals, the local government experience managing self-insured plans, and references. So we did call some counties, or some of the staff called some counties. I think Commissioner Newell may have too, but they called some counties to see, and other systems, maybe cities and counties and school systems too, to see how they were satisfied with the people that they had referenced in their proposal. So it was a unanimous decision to bring these 3 back. If you see something else in here you want to add to it, I'm sure that's okay, but I think the manager's got these carriers scheduled this morning. And something else you want to add, Heidi? That pretty much cover what we did?
Sure, that pretty much works for how the committee functioned.
Oh yeah, tell them the name of the committee members so they'll know who all would ever side.
Yeah, so the selection committee consisted of Chairman Newell at the time, Commissioner Clayton, myself, Amy Warrenberg from Finance, both Sonia and Angie from our HR department. And we evaluated all 11 of the proposals, talked about all of them, like Commissioner Clayton said, we're able to narrow it down to 3. And then reference checks were done on these top 3. Angie herself called all of the references that were listed for them, and then I was also able to talk to some of the managers who worked in jurisdictions who use some of these firms. So some of the questions that I explored on the staff side were a little more technical. We talked about the funding levels, developing reserves, whether or not they were giving them a budget that was continuous throughout the year that was able to fit within their budget. But the group was looking more for a comprehensive broker service. I think when we initially started off this process and issuing RFP, I talked about looking for somebody to manage our self-funded plan. But as we did our research and looked around at what other counties were doing, we're really getting more into a comprehensive broker service. So the committee spent some time talking about, having a more comprehensive broker, which is what we've actually had here. So we were kind of wanting to keep some continuity in terms of the breadth of service. So not so narrowly focused as just a self-funded administrator, but more comprehensive in terms of providing, the full array of services, having one representative to take care of that. And that is indeed what we've really had here from my perspective. So the RFP was developed. We did go and look at other communities when they have gone out to bid, what kind of RFP they put together. And so we have 7 other counties who issued a very similar RFP. All of our brokers will acknowledge that our RFP looks very similar to what's been issued in the last 2 years from other counties, and there's a reason for that. We try to be consistent. We want to be competitive. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. If these have stood up to legal defenses, then we try to mirror our own RFP after those. So you will note that ours does look similar to some other counties, and that was intentional. These are public documents. It's not a copyright infringement. It's more about trying to make sure that we're asking the right questions in terms of a proposal, and that it's a little more comprehensive than just looking for somebody to administer the self-funded plan. And we have 425 enrolled individuals, and so we need obviously a large, comprehensive insurance program to serve all those needs. With a staff of 3 in our HR department, this is really a very close working partnership with the broker that we have and with the broker that we would move forward with. So wanted to explain that a little bit. You're also aware that we have had our own insurance carriers bid out in the past. Typically, our brokers will go to market for us almost every year and get bids from the other insurance carriers. That is not actually what we're talking about this morning. So we are just simply talking about our point of contact in the insurance world, which would be our broker service. So I'm not talking about the Aetnas, United Healthcares, we're just talking about the broker that would be, of course, the face of insurance for Person County government. So I wanted to explain that and that role for you all as well. At your seats are some suggested questions, and the format that we're looking for today is about 20-minute presentation from the top 3 brokers. And Scott Benefits is with us this morning. And so if you'll allow them to have about 20 minutes, then we'll leave about 10 minutes for questions. This is sort of a guide if we get stuck, or this kind of can help frame our conversation with them. Obviously, the insurance world is super technical, and I have learned a lot through this process. They are experts at talking about aggregate stop loss carriers, and I hope to hear some of that today, but we also depend on them to help us with some of those technical things. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to kind of help set the stage. I can't think of anything, but as we go along, please list some questions that you might like to follow up with. And there is also a copy of the RFP that went out, so you can make sure that you have that. Or do I have that?
It's in here. It's in our packets.
Okay. Are there any other questions before we get started, or things you'd like me to follow up on? Issues that
Yes,
have been raised?
ma'am.
Yeah.
Ms. York, for my clarity here, we've got these rating sheets and questions. Are those
Yes.
something that we use with each presenter? Or
Yes, so you'll
do we-
see that there are 3 sheets. They each have a name of the firm that is making a presentation here. And then we have a rating scale of, 5 to excellent, 1 to poor in terms of how they respond to these questions. And then we can, after all 3 presentations, we can talk about your feedback or thoughts or direction or follow-up items that you might like to have. You can turn these in to me and I can tally them, or we can discuss them publicly. It's really up to you. I'm not sure how you want today to go, if you'll need more time after you hear the presentations, or if you'll be prepared to make a decision today or later. So we're flexible. We've not been through this process before. Our goal really is to hear from our 3 potential brokers this morning and get an understanding of what services they're providing and how they will work with the county with our self-funded insurance.
Did the committee narrow them down to 3 based off the RFP, or did y'all meet with them also?
We did not meet with
We
them
did
at
not
all,
meet with
no,
them.
just
Okay.
simply
Based
on
off
what
the
was
RFP.
submitted. So you see that you have the 3 large binders. We actually went through the proposals of all of the people who submitted bids.
Okay.
So you do have a copy of those proposals. They are massive amounts of information in there. So this is sort of the follow-up after going through their proposals and doing the reference checks. This is sort of the next logical step to hear from them
We're
directly.
here at 5, right?
No time
You got to
limit.
read these before you leave today, right? I'd like to say thank you to the group that got together and went through all of this. I know it was a new process for us, and it was something that we are learning as we go. Thank you to the staff for taking the time to work on this, and I would like to ask my fellow commissioners that we look at this, number one, first from a price standpoint, because we're here to do the people of Person County and the taxpayers a service by saving as much money as we can for them. But we also need to look at the services that we're going to get provided when we go out and buy a vehicle a lot of times the cheapest vehicle is not the best vehicle for our needs. And so I would ask that you keep an open mind, that you look at each individual group that comes through here. First look at price, then look at what added benefits we're going to get from this so that we can do the best for the taxpayers first and for our employees alongside them. They're not following behind, but we need to do what's best for both groups, and hopefully we'll do that today when we pick one of the carriers. So are there any other questions or comments before we get started? If not, Scott Insurance, you're up first.
Brenda, I've got hard copies, so you can pass those out.
Yeah, I'll be right
There you go.
Yes, we have it loaded for you.
Awesome.
Oh, there's the clicker right here.
Clicker.
While they're being passed out, I just want to quickly thank you all. This is an important process. I think you actually have a fiduciary responsibility to do this. Tracy's right. Heidi's right. This is probably one of your biggest expenses that you have to deal with, right? So I think you're doing the right thing. You're also doing it in the right order, in my opinion, right? Because a lot of times we go out and people put stuff out to bid and they go, come back with your best pricing, right? And to Heidi's point, I mean, the carriers are pretty much going to price you based on your claims experience, right? And if everybody kind of gives the same information out, everybody's going to kind of get the same answers. So you're doing it right to kind of review your partner first and look at the comprehensive package, and then, you know, look at the actual insurance itself. So wanted to take just about 20 minutes, as you guys have already mentioned, just to kind of an overview of Scott Insurance and kind of what we think is a priority, what we spend our time on. Where am I going here with this?
Just straight ahead, should do it.
Okay.
It doesn't need it on.
Turn it around.
There's
Oh,
a little
shoot.
switch on the side, on the side of it.
Oh, sorry, I got it.
Okay, that should do it.
Green is good.
There we go.
Okay. So quickly, overview of Scott Insurance, right? So we're a really old company. We've been around for 152 years, actually headquartered in Lynchburg, Virginia, not too far up the road. Since 1975, we've become an ESOP, an employee-owned company. We're one of the first in the country to do that, to take advantage of tax laws. One of the kind of unintended consequences of that is, and we think there are studies that show this, that people who own something have a more vested interest, right, in serving our clients. And so we think that brings a lot of value in terms of the services that we bring to you guys. We've got about 320 employee owners today, 9 offices in 4 states. You can see the size. We're pretty big. In addition to that, we're one of an equity partner in something called C2 Partners, which kind of pools us together with 7 other independent agencies across the country. So when we go out there and look for pricing for you and contracts in terms of your insurance products, we're going out as the 5th largest in the country, okay? So we think that gets you the right things. We also spend a lot of time in actually, and I'll talk about this in a second, but we pour a lot of our own revenues kind of back into services that help you run better in terms of your insurance. We are really focused on our value proposition is really focused on 3 main drivers, which I'm going to talk about today. There's financial risk management. There's health risk management. A lot of people call that wellness. We call it health risk management. And then the third bubble is kind of broken into HR consulting. So it's kind of practices, policies, and procedures from an HR perspective. Compliance, which is a big deal these days. And then HR technology. So our strategic intent at Scott is that we believe generally as insurance is a poor way to finance risk. You think about it, insurance companies always win. Very few insurance companies go out of business. So our goal is to, down there at the bottom bullet point, to create unique partnerships, programs, and resources that drive value for you. And it's all about sort of where's that fine line, where's that balance between how much insurance we should buy and how much should we take on our own risk. And if we take on risk that's measured and known, we can actually be rewarded, just like the insurance company is, right? I mentioned earlier we invest about 12% of our revenue into resources that help you improve your own client profile and claims. That's a 2% average, so we're well above the average. Most of our benefits consultants have come from large national agencies. Deloitte Consulting, Aon Consulting, Willis. I was with Willis for years before I moved to Scott 13, 14 years ago. One of the frustrations at the big agencies is, in this part of the country, there's not a lot of national headquarters, right? So we're basically dealing with mid-market employers, people that have somewhere between 100 and a few thousand employees. And we were frustrated at trying to get kind of Fortune 500 resources down to a mid-market level. So how do we get those resources like pharmacy consulting, stop-loss consulting, actuarial services and things like that to a company who's got 400 employees in Roxborough or 300 employees in Kinston, North Carolina? We are specifically focused on self-funded middle market. We try to take a data-driven strategic approach, and we focus on supply side. So that's how you finance your insurance programs and how you buy insurance, as well as the demand side, which we'll talk about a little bit through the health risk management and wellness program. But that's really how you use the insurance or the self-funded plan that you have. So I thought this was going to be a 10-minute presentation. It's 20. I didn't bring the team up, but this is the team. And so I thought I'd sort of walk through a little bit kind of virtually on who we are and kind of a little bit of background and what we do. So starting with that top leaf, Brian Bickley, I'm the lead consultant for Person County Government. So we don't have any salespeople. I'm a horrible salesperson. And so I am with you the whole time. It's my job to quarterback all these resources, bring them to you, and deliver value for Person County Government. Greg Stansel's listed up there. He's our compliance lead. Greg's in our Greensboro office. He's been really focused recently on healthcare reform and ACA. He actually came up to the county 3 or 4 years ago, I can't remember, to talk to all the department heads about ACA. If you remember that provision where you had to measure full-time, part-time, that kind of thing, that was a big concern for you all. Just to give you a sense of the kind of person Greg is, during the presidential election, I got a text from him at 2:30 in the morning, and I think we were all kind of surprised on who won. He decided that we needed to do a webinar on November 9th. So we did 2 that day, the very next day after the election, on what we think, changes in terms of healthcare reform based on the Trump presidency. We'll continue to update that, and if you guys, that's a whole separate topic, but we can talk about that. If you go over to the right, clockwise, dedicated client services, Ashlyn Needham is your dedicated client support. Ashlyn is relatively new to the industry. She's been in it about 4 years. She's actually a valedictorian from NC State, very bright, engaged young person. Monica Harold serves as her primary background. Monica's got an HR background. We hired her from Northern Virginia when she moved down a couple years ago. Sherry Johnson is an ex-underwriter from Cigna for years. And Sherry is your primary marketing analyst. And when I say marketing, I'm talking about us going out to carriers and looking at pricing and contracts. From that perspective, she's marketing. Continue around to the right, compliance and technology. Joe Marklin heads up a group of HR where we handle HR technology consulting. So if you all ever came to us and said, look, we need a new payroll system, we need an HRIS system, we need a new benefits enrollment platform, we don't have one sort of set way to bring that to you. Joe, we get on the phone with Joe, we have a 30-minute phone call, sort of trying to figure out what you want. We kind of go to the market and bring back the best fit for you guys. HR Workplace Services basically handles, not that you're subject to ERISA, but because you're a county government, but basically handles a lot of our compliance and general HR compliance. So if Angie came to me and said, hey, we would like to look at a new policy, we'd like to review our employee handbook, that's the kind of stuff that, that HR Workplace Services does. Unlimited access in terms of any kind of HR compliance, HR policies and procedures. They're always available. Xywave is just another company that already puts out kind of vetted legislative briefs. If there is a change in FMLA policy or anything that you can think of from a policy perspective, they're going to put out a vetted communication piece on that. That's in the form of a payroll stuffer or a poster or anything in between. We can get those to your employees or generally to your HR team, finance team. Financial and Legal Group, Josh McGee is an internal resource. Josh is our Vice President of FRM, which is Financial Risk Management. Josh is an actuarial degree from Chapel Hill as well as an MBA. He worked for several years for 2 large carriers, Cigna and United, and he wrote pricing models for them. We hired him away from Deloitte Consulting. Derek DePriest is one of about 4 underwriters that we have on staff. If you decide, we're going to talk a lot more about this, but if you decide to go into the actuarial model that we have, Dan Freeman is your certified actuary that we can get Dan on the phone at any point in time. I'm going to kind of explain a little bit more background about him and their role in a few minutes. Williams Mullen, we just keep on retainer for legal compliance. And then we've got a pharmacy consultant, a guy named Scott Vogel, who worked for Express Scripts for 14 years. And I told you, a lot of us came from larger consulting firms. Pharmacy consulting is a big deal, right? So if you decided to work with a Marsh and Aon, some of the bigger agencies in the country, you would have a pharmacy consultant, but you wouldn't be able to talk to them until you had about 10,000 employees. So again, that's an example of how we're trying to bring kind of Fortune 500 resources down to the mid-market level. Last group up there is our health risk management team. Dina Fonzone leads that team. She's Vice President of Health Risk Management. Excuse me. Dina's got a master's degree in worksite health promotion and an MBA. She's an adjunct professor on health risk management. She speaks at conferences all over the country. Christine Carey is on one of 5 people on Dina's staff that focuses exclusively on wellness. We hired Christine from Aon about 3 or 4 years ago. And then we keep Jaron Brannon kind of on retainer. He's our nutritionist. A little bit more very quickly, because I know we don't have a lot of time. This could be like a whole kind of day conversation about health risk management. But so Dina's been with Scott for about 17 years, and we've been working on wellness since 1999. So this is way before kind of wellness was a buzzword, and everybody was kind of trying to do something about this. The box on the left is sort of what traditional people or what people have kind of traditionally done in terms of wellness. And I'm not saying they're bad things, right? You got some good things up there: health risk assessment, biometric screenings, lunch and learns, walking programs. It's all good stuff, but if you do that kind of by itself without sort of a core culture change on the right-hand side, which is where we kind of focus, they are typically short-lived. And one of the problems you'll see, I know you guys have a gym, you do some biometric screenings, a couple things is typically get the people involved in those programs who are already sort of have those intrinsic health value, right? Like, I'm the guy with 6% fat. I want to go to the gym, get it down to 5% fat, right? You're not focused on the person that's the 54-year-old man who has metabolic syndrome, right? He's overweight, he's got high blood pressure, high cholesterol. That's who you want in your wellness program. So what we do is kind of switch that, and you can see on the bottom of the page there, it's doing something, which is the left-hand side, versus managing what matters. The pre-discovery analysis, we spend a whole lot of time trying to get you understand your culture, understand your current policies and procedures, And during the E5 planning process, it's typically a 3-year planning process where we are helping you develop sort of that core cultural change where health is really a part of your culture. And then the elements workbook is just a matter of measuring, reviewing, and changing. So again, it's just really a core change, and we can go through examples, maybe later or during the questioning process. But it's a lot more thought out than just bringing on a couple of kind of short-lived programs. Very, very quickly, financial risk management as well. It's a thoughtful, process-oriented, and data-driven approach. Rather than kind of, oh my God, you got a bad renewal, we're going to jump up and down and scream at the carrier and hope that makes it come down a little bit. We try to take a more thoughtful approach. We do provide credible mid-market benchmarking. That kind of comes back to that to actuarial services that I'm going to talk about in more detail in a minute. We try to provide you with quarterly and monthly performance monitoring. Heidi's seen a sample of the healthcare dashboard that we've created. We'll be rolling out early next year. Actuarial support and analysis I'm going to talk about in more detail. But medical and pharmacy repricing is a good example, right? So, it's one thing to kind of go to all the carriers and say, hey, give me a rate, right? It's another thing to take your actual claims history, to run that through the other carriers' models and kind of see what the results are. Again, I talked about this earlier, that 85% of your costs are your claims. 15% is stop loss and administration of the plan, right? So if we take that 85% of your costs and we take claims from Aetna and we send it to Blue Cross, United, Cigna, what's the result that comes back? Okay, and same thing on pharmacy, and I'll show you a detailed example of this again, where we take your actual pharmacy claims, run them through a different pricing model, and see what the result is. So there's a lot of thought and a lot of data analysis that goes behind our recommendations. We try to do a pre-renewal and renewal analysis, which I'll talk about in more detail, but it's essentially where we'll come out 5 to 6 months before your renewal and try to give you a good sense of what's going to happen in the future. Once we get the actual renewal from the carrier, again, it's laying that back against what the actuarial model said and having a rational conversation with the carrier. Maybe it's a methodology difference, but we want to get you comfortable with where you fund in the future. We don't want you to be so worried about what the carrier says. Hope that makes sense. A little bit more about Milliman. So Milliman is the largest healthcare actuary in the country. They're doing two things. One is they're working with carriers. So every carrier that you go get pricing from, Milliman is using their model to develop their rates. So if you get pricing from Blue Cross, Aetna, United Healthcare, Cigna, Milliman is the model that says, hey, here is your rate. So that's what we have access to. They've got the largest healthcare database in the country. It's about 100 million lives of claims data. So they are typically working with carriers like I just described, or very, very large employers, right? Like an IBM would come to them and say, hey, we want your help to sort of value our plans and work through our processes. About 15 years ago, they decided that, hey, we've got a pretty good thing going here, but we'd like to bring those same resources down to the middle market. So a bunch of actuaries in their Omaha, Nebraska office decided to do that. They went out and found 35 agency partners across the country, and we are one of them. We have exclusive rights to Milliman in Virginia and North Carolina. We think it's important to have that third-party validation. So basically, Milliman's kind of cranking out the actuarial analysis. We're bringing that to you and making recommendations based on that. We think it improves transparency. All of your work is signed and by a certified actuary and peer-reviewed. Deliverables include a quarterly reserve estimate, so that's That's every quarter. We come out and basically say, look, here's what we think you ought to be holding in reserves. If you've dropped your plan today, here's the amount of claims that you need to hold on your books for future liability. So that's going to bounce up and down based on enrollment and how the way claims are running. The pre-renewal projection, which I just described, and the renewal analysis is coming from Milliman. The plan design impacts. So do you want to go to Aetna or Blue Cross and say, hey guys, if I reduce my deductible or increase my deductible by $500, what kind of a cost impact is that going to have? Or do you want to go to a third-party independent actuary and have them give you that answer? Same thing with plan design analysis. We provide a sort of a value of plans. So you offer 2 plans today. It's really important for somebody to tell you that what's the value of one plan relative to another. So you fund properly, number one, and then number two, you actually go back to the employees and make sure that there's a correct spread between those 2 plans so people aren't anti-risk selecting the wrong plan. We can tell you based on that and based on demographics, whether or not all of the risky people or the high-risk people are in one plan versus another. Stop loss analysis, which I'm actually going to give you an example on here in just a minute. ACA impact analysis, it has been a huge deal. I don't know if it will be going forward. But it basically is an analysis that gives you a 10-year projection of what's going to happen from an ACA perspective, and it makes sure that you kind of stay within all the rails. There's lots of rules and regulations on ACA on what you can and can't do. And then benchmarking, which I talked about. And just to keep in mind the benchmarking, I'm going to skip a page here because we sort of answered all those. But the benchmarking is not just North Carolina based. It can be North Carolina based, but it can be based on size. It can be based on industry. But again, we're collecting data from an employee benefits survey that we do every year. You guys participate. You may not know it, but that's coming from all 35 agencies across the country. So to make this kind of actuarial analysis come alive, I thought it might be helpful just to show you one example. And this is one report of a series of reports, kind of talked in the beginning about where's that sort of optimal level of insurance that we buy, right? And so Heidi alluded to it. You've got 2 types of insurance. Even though you're a self-funded plan, you've got specific insurance or individual stop loss, which is what we're sort of looking at here. And then you've got aggregate stop loss, which is a policy, sort of an umbrella policy over your entire group that says, hey, we know what the maximum risk here is, right? So I talked earlier about you want to be able to take risk, but you want it to be measured and known, and that's what that aggregate stop loss policy helps you do. So in this example, and this is not your data, this is just a sample, we have run the individual stop loss at $125,000. So you think about this in your own life where you buy auto policy, right? An auto insurance policy. Maybe you go to Phillip and do that. And you go, look, I have been driving for 35 years. I'm pretty safe. I got $1,000. I'm comfortable taking $1,000 deductible, right? So I am comfortable that first $1,000, I got a little bit of money kind of set aside. I'm comfortable kind of taking on that risk myself. But then things happen, right? I got a 16-year-old daughter who comes on the policy. I got things like, so I have to take all this stuff into account when I'm trying to kind of make that decision. Where's the optimal point? How much insurance should I buy? And how much should I take my own risk? And that's what this is doing on a group health plan basis. So in this example, we would run this at 3 or 4 different levels. So you're looking at $125,000 individual stop loss, which is a policy that covers every member on your health plan. We might look at it 100, 125, 150, 175, just like you look at different deductible levels when you buy your car insurance. And this is run through what's called a Monte Carlo analysis. So I told you that Milliman has 100 million lives worth of claims data. They're taking your specific demographics, so a census that we get from Angie, as well as your historical claims information, and running it through their model. And they're going to run it as if it happened 10,000 times, and these are the results. So we use that for two things. One is we set that optimal level of stop loss, because we don't want you to, because the other thing I didn't mention about the car policy, if you buy a bigger deductible, you pay lower premium, right? Just like this, if you buy a bigger deductible, you pay less premium, but you also expose yourself to more risk, right? If I have a $5,000 deductible, my 16-year-old daughter has an accident, I'm paying the first $5,000. So two things. One, we're going to try to figure out what's the optimal level, okay? In this example, 125. And then the other thing is we use this for a budgeting tool. So you can see that's a pretty tight bell curve there, right? You go to the left of that kind of center, which is, in this example, would be where do I set my maximum claim? So let's just say that's a forecast of $1 million. I'm going to spend $1 million in claims on the health plan. Well, if you look off to the right, you can see that you've got a 21% chance of exceeding that $1 million by 5%. So again, that's a budgeting tool. How comfortable are we setting it at the million when we know we got a 21% chance of exceeding it, okay? Up to 105%. And again, so this is what's happened over 10,000 times. So most stop-loss policies, aggregate stop-loss policies, set your maximum risk at 125%. Yours is at 120, which is a good thing. But in this example, you can see I actually have a 0% chance of ever hitting my maximum. So the other side of this, which I'm not showing you, is how much aggregate stop-loss do I buy? And if I have a 0% chance of hitting my maximum, does it make sense for me to spend $40,000 on an aggregate stop-loss policy? So that's the kind of stuff we're going to walk you through, okay? Just an example. So our long-term vision for you guys is probably to get you on a more flexible TPA platform. So I've talked to the staff and Heidi a lot about this. And about 5 years ago, most of the, well, actually all of the national carriers, except for Blue Cross, have purchased third-party administrators. And here's the way you think about that. United owns one called UMR. Aetna owns one called Meritain. Aetna, I don't know exactly, but Aetna probably has 80,000 employees. Meritain has about 400 employees. So you're going from a big bureaucratic company down to a more boutique feel. And the difference is that in what happens today versus what happened before these large national carriers bought these TPAs, third-party administrators, is that the TPA now gives you access to the national carrier. We've talked about this before. A lot of your pricing is based on your claims, and your claims are based on the discount that you get in the market. We know, based on our analysis, that Coventry Aetna has the deepest discounts in your part of the country. So if you can get those same deep discounts, pull yourself kind of away from big bureaucratic Aetna. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it is a possibility. It gives us more flexibility, right, to carve out things like pharmacy, which we're going to talk about in a second. And it gives you a more sort of boutique service model feel to it. I also think because we talked a lot about culture and managing claims cost, it's hard. It takes a whole lot of work. It takes a whole lot of internal resources to do that. Not many employers have it. Very, very few. And so one of the ways that you can kind of help control your claims costs, again, 85% of your costs, is to sort of passively do it through your contracts with the providers in the community. Now, Aetna, as an example, has one of the great things that healthcare reform actually did was perpetuate these accountable care organizations, and that's just a switch from the way providers are paid. It switches a doctor from being paid for every service that I provide to you, every test that I run on you, I get reimbursed, whether it's needed or not. 2, I am responsible for managing your health, and I am responsible as your primary care provider for tracking you through when you see your endocrinologist and your rheumatologist and everybody else. I need to kind of kind of look at what your overall health is doing. One of the things that I have to do in this situation is have a care coordinator, and that's a person inside the medical practice that calls Tracy. Tracy's got diabetes. I'm looking for gaps in care. So if I see Tracy hadn't had his A1Cs checked in more than 3 months, I'm calling him, I'm getting back in, because I'm rewarded for your outcome, your health outcome. So these partnerships align the providers with the employee, which helps the county. And then the other thing that we've talked a lot about is to more aggressively manage large claimants. And we've got a lot of different ways to do that, but I think the key takeaway there is if you look at your claims experience, 5% of your members incur 60% of your cost. Okay, so who are you going to spend your time on, and how are you going to do it? Pharmacy carve-out is something that we just looked at, and I've got the results for you. So number one, you got to be self-funded. Number two, you got to be with an administrator, a plan administrator that will allow you to carve out, which we are now in. And you have to have access to your actual historical claims to run them through this model to see what the pricing really looks like. So we brought on a pharmacy consultant about 5 years ago, a guy named Scott Vogel, and we created a pharmacy coalition, which is basically a pharmacy contract. The contract is transparent. There's no pass-through pricing. So again, it'd be another whole conversation, but pharmacy benefit managers make their money by keeping a spread on the cost that they buy the drugs for and what they sell them to the plan for. They make a revenue on that spread. And then they keep these things called rebates. So when the manufacturer sells a drug to the plan, there's a rebate in that cost. Most kind of extreme example is in the spring of 2015, there were 3 manufacturers that came out with drugs for hepatitis C. All 3 of them cost exactly the same. They were all about $100,000. But if you took these drugs over the course of 3 or 4 months, you were basically cured of hepatitis C, okay? There's genetic testing to make sure it was going to work for you, that kind of thing. So all 3 of the drugs cost about $100,000. There's a $30,000 rebate inside the $100,000 cost. So if you're with Blue Cross, if you're with Aetna, you're with United, guess who keeps the $30,000? The carrier. So in our pharmacy coalition, 100% of those rebates are actually returned to our clients. Inside that contract, you also have a dedicated account management team. It's the same team for all of our clients. It includes a PharmD. So think about this when you're doing the implementation call on how you want your pharmacy plan to work. You've got a clinical person on the phone. Every time we have every quarter, we do utilization reviews with our clients on their pharmacy expenses. Every time we have a clinical person on that call. The other thing is you've got so many levers you can pull with pharmacy that if you're with a carrier, they're just going to package it and you get what you get. If you're with our pharmacy coalition, we look at your data. There's, like I said, hundreds of ways to kind of pull levers, more aggressively manage your plan. We're going to make recommendations based on our review of your specific data, and then we're going to model it to say, number one, what's the cost savings? But number two, how disruptive is it? How many people are going to be affected by this? And then the last point, it's an auditable contract, which basically means if you sign the Pharmacy Coalition contract, it's going to say you're going to get AWP, average wholesale price, minus X percent, 20%. If your actual results at the end of the plan year come out to 17%, you're going to get the 3% back. So we've taken your actual claims, we've run them through our Pharmacy Coalition model, and we're showing about a $250,000 savings per person county. This is a part of the actual pharmacy repricing. I couldn't squeeze it all on the PowerPoint, but essentially it gives you the picture, right? We've got 2 pharmacy benefit managers inside our Pharmacy Coalition, so we can go to 2 PBMs. We can go to Optum Rx, or we can go to Express Scripts. Express Scripts is the largest PBM in the country. Optum's about the 3rd largest. We took your historical claims, 12 months of your actual claims, ran them through our model. You can see Optum is producing $296,000 in savings. Express Scripts is $227,000 in savings. I'm going to skip over this next slide, but you can see that people in our coalition are performing better. You ask a lot of questions in the RFP, and I think to kind of Heidi's point about comprehensive services, you ask a lot of questions about open enrollment. We can do open enrollment a dozen different ways. We can do it any way you want, right? I talked about bringing benefits enrollment system to you if that's the way you guys want to go. I will say our conversations so far have gone this way, and it's not to say that they can't go in a different direction, but so far I know you as a county have made a significant investment in a system called Munis. It does all kinds of stuff for you at the county. One of the things that Munis has is an HR component and benefits management component to it, right? So our conversations have been, we're going to use that, we're going to take advantage of the system that we've already got in place and use it as our system of record. And what I mean by that is if you hire Brian Bickley and I go into Sonia's office, Sonia puts my information in one time. She collects my benefit selections, right? I choose to cover my wife, my children. She pops that into your Munis system. Munis communicates it to payroll, right? Because I've got payroll deductions involved because I'm paying for some of those coverages for my dependents. And then it also shoots that information over to the carrier. So when I go to the doctor is going to look up my eligibility and say, oh yeah, Brian's got his wife, his children on the plan. So payroll is updated, the system actually feeds to the carriers, and then our discussions have kind of moved, and Munis does this, to a self-serve model. And that just basically means if I hire Tracy, or during open enrollment, I get a packet in the mail, or I get an email that say, hey Tracy, it's time for you to enroll in benefits. You go on the Munis system, enroll in benefits, it does what I just described earlier. We work with other counties who use Munis. We can embed information in the enrollment system, so if you wanted to do a 30-second video that explains how a deductible works, or what is disability, or whatever, we can do that. Worksite products, you also ask a lot about this in the RFP, so I thought I would mention it. We work with a lot of clients who do worksite products. For Person County, we are not involved one bit, but we can be. This has been a really big deal over probably, again, the past 5-7 years. Aflac kind of started this. Colonial sort of came in shortly after that. It is extremely lucrative for brokers, and that's why you're going to see a lot of the brokers out there kind of leading with this. These services, these products, I should say, which are kind of what I mean by worksite, cancer, accident, critical illness, things like that, they pay 60 to 100% of commission, right? So first year, if I sell Ray a policy and he's paying $20 a month, I'm making $240 on that deal. My belief is if you're not careful with how you offer those programs, it can actually dilute the consumerism aspect of the medical plan, and I think consumerism is important. What I mean by that is that that the plan members, your employees, have some skin in the game. And so here's an example of that. If I have a deductible and coinsurance to get an MRI, but then I also have a policy that offsets the cost of that MRI, like why do I care where I go get the MRI? MRI, I can go on the app and I can figure out that an MRI costs somewhere between $600 and $3,000. And if I'm sort of immune to that deductible and coinsurance level, I'll go for the more expensive one. So you got to be careful in the way you're including these programs, these plans, in kind of the total benefits offering. Many of the products, if I bought my product 15 years ago and it's an individual product, and then you come in tomorrow and offer me a new one, I'm 15 years older now, so you got to watch out for that. That's just something to it's not a bad thing, but it's just something you need to be sensitive to. And then if you're not careful, my only advice is that you all keep a close control on which products are actually being offered. It's commission driven, and sometimes, I'm not saying, the two people that you currently work with are fantastic. But sometimes, if you let a commissioned salesperson out to your workforce, they can go crazy with products. The last thing I'd say about this is that Aflac and Colonial kind of started this, but other carriers are out there, so Unum, Hartford, Cigna, they all offer these products today. So don't think you're just limited to Aflac and Colonial. And then our fee. You asked a lot of questions about the fee, and it was talked about at the beginning. So our proposed fee, as outlined in the RFP response, is about $42,000. If you decide to go with the actuarial model, 16 of that 42 will be passed directly through to Milliman. We feel like this is the most transparent way to do it. Our fee is aligned with Person County. Our focus is on managing your claims cost, not on selling you insurance products. And that's, I don't know how else to say that, but is what it is. I probably went over, but do you guys have any questions?
I've got three if no one else does. I'll just go in reverse order. And this one's for Heidi, open enrollment and access to our employees for computers to do open enrollment. I know at Duke Energy I have open enrollment and I have access to a computer a lot. How accessible are most of our 425 employees to computers to do open enrollment?
We've done the open enrollment through Munis now 2 years, I think, on their own. Most employees do have access to computers, but we also have one out in our little alcove area on this floor that's open to anybody to use, and we have other computers around the county, and we assist employees. HR, is very helpful to any of our enrollees who can come, and they'll work with them.
And we allow them to do that during work hours?
We do.
Okay. The pharmacy carve-out was my next question. I like the payback and the projections versus the actuals. Is the pharmacy carve-out built into the broker fee, or is this product an add-on that would cost in addition to what the 42,000, whatever, 42,125? If we went with the pharmacy carve-out program that you were discussing that would save an estimated $250,000, is that part of the benefits package that
Yes,
you're
sir.
offering for 42,125?
Yes, sir. That pharmacy services is all part of the original package that I kind of talked about in the beginning. So we're not charging you to have access to our pharmacy coalition.
Okay. The other thing is there I know, again, I can easily identify with some of these things because I do them at Duke.
Yeah.
Do they have a specific, I know it saves money on specific maintenance type drugs? Are they asked to do the drugs by mail for anything other than?
That's a great question. So when we look at it originally, we kind of model it based off your current program, okay? And what we can do, and you didn't see this because you don't have all of the analysis, but there's also part of the analysis, who's going to work, there's a different formulary, right? If you go with Express Scripts or Optum, there's a different formulary so some people are going to go, oh my gosh, that drug was on the third tier, now it's on the first or second or third. So one of the things we look at is who's going to come out favorably from the employee's perspective and who's not. And that's on the bottom of the analysis. And it's about more people come out favorably than not. But certainly, part of the equation when you're changing PBMs, pharmacy benefits management, is to do it with enough time that I can go, okay, Tracy, we are now changing over on 7/1 to this new PBM. I have your historical claims information. I know what you take. So I can send you a personalized letter that says, hey, Tracy, guess what? That drug you were taking is now subject to step therapy, or it's going from tier 1 to 3, or it's going from tier 2 to 1, or whatever. But if you do it with enough time, it can be thoughtful and communicated.
So our employees could benefit from the mail-in, and does it do a dedicated provider within the community? Like is when they set up this carve-out, does CVS Pharmacy get it, or the employees able to use any pharmacy? It's just mainly focused on the drugs themselves and what we're using.
The retail setting, you'd be able to go anywhere. CVS, Rite Aid, Walgreens, wherever. Mail order is going to...
Maintenance type drugs. for
Yeah,
mail order.
maintenance drugs and specialty drugs, which is where all of your cost is. Talked about the hepatitis C drug, which you had a couple of people taking those.
Humira.
Multiple sclerosis, things, rheumatoid arthritis, exactly. Those are going to come from one specific provider. The mail order is pretty cool because it actually saves the plan, because you get a deeper discount if somebody orders their drug, the maintenance drug that comes to their home, and you don't pay a dispensing fee. So those $2 dispensing fees, they add up a lot.
Okay. One last question. Back on your Scott Services team, you've got all of these client services that fall into here, and then you talk about the Xywave compliance, communication, HR, workplace services and things. Are these carve-outs, or are all of these associated with the fee base that you provided us, or are these other things that you can provide at another rate? Or an additional rate?
That's a really, really good question. So the only thing that would cost additional on that whole page is if you said, I want to use Garen Brannon, our nutritionist, for a series of 7 lunch and learns, there'd be an additional fee for that. But nothing else on that page is going to cost you anything. The Milliman is a cost to me, so
Yeah, I saw
it's a
that.
pass-through cost to us, but nothing on that page is going to cost you anything more than what we've already proposed in the fee, except for nutrition services.
Okay.
That's
So-
a good question.
So when you said Milliman, it's your 42,125 minus the 16,600 that Milliman gets if we go with that pharmacy,
Exactly, yes, sir.
Fine.
Well, no, not the pharmacy, just the actuarial services.
just the actuarial services?
Yeah.
But
Okay,
we don't subtract the 16 out of the cost.
okay.
Just to clarify on the cost, there's a small discrepancy of like $1,000 between the book and this
Oh,
number.
shoot, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's probably just enrollment,
Yeah, it could be the number of enrollees.
yeah.
But you also in the proposal required a 3-year contract, but I didn't hear
That's
that this
typical,
one-
Heidi, but, we can be flexible on that.
So there's not a 3-year commitment on that? Or
Are you
there's-
asking, well, from our side,
Just in the
absolutely.
proposal, it said that these numbers, required a 3-year contract.
I wouldn't say require, I mean, we would like to have a 3-year commitment. From our perspective, our commitment is to hold that rate for 3 years, if that's what you're asking.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify.
But yeah, if you
that
said,
this
hey,
morning.
we hate what you're doing, we'd like to leave in a year and a half, I mean, we're not gonna say, oh, Heidi, okay, but you owe me $50,000, I mean, does that make sense?
So it's not a contract, it's just...
Well, it's a contract, but contracts can be broken.
Okay.
We'll hold up our side of it, that's all I can commit to, in terms of
I
holding the
just want to
co-
be clear that if we, go with these numbers, it's a 3-year commitment on the county's part.
Well, I know too, you got to look on the national level, insurance is fixing to change now, whether it's going up or down or sideways or what it's gonna
I
do,
think
but
it
something's
goes
gonna
down.
happen with it. That's what I wanna ask another one about the drug costs
Yes, sir.
specifically. I had several people to complain to me, employees, about it. And it may have been a specialty drug, I don't know, and it may be that it may cost no matter where you go.
Yeah,
But I did get some question about that. And if you would, I think you touched on that a minute ago.
mhm.
Would that be, is that why somebody's drug would probably be abnormally high, where they had, let's say they'd been taking it with some other group or plan or something, but all of a sudden it jumps to something like $300 a month for this. I'm just using that number, but why would, is it because it's a specialty drug?
It's the same complaint I got. It was something like they couldn't get a generic, or it wasn't a generic, or something, and
Yeah.
previously they didn't have to pay for that drug, and all of a sudden now, the plan we're on now.
Yeah, we've met with at least one employee on that, and we're actually working through that. We've got a call actually this afternoon at 4 o'clock, so we are keeping a list, sort of a issues log, and we're going to set up. We already have sort of set up weekly calls with HR staff and with Aetna to work through those. But I think to answer your question, I think there's a little bit of, well, I don't know the root cause of what you're asking. But generally, specialty drugs absolutely are more expensive. Those rheumatoid arthritis drugs that Tracy mentioned are $2,500 prescription. Multiple sclerosis is, $1,500 per prescription. And so if you are getting those drugs for a copay, even though you're paying more, it's still a pretty daggone good deal, and I think that's part of a communication issue of, the drug costs $2,500, I'm paying a copay. Even if it's $100, that's still a pretty good deal, but, it's hard to explain that, but I think that's part of a communication effort that we probably need to do a better job on. To address the specific issues that people are having, we're working on that.
Okay, and how about communication with the financial reports that, I think the county has to file a certain amount, don't they, Amy? Do y'all work with the county on filing those reports and getting them in on a timely manner? Has that been an issue, or is it an issue?
Well,
Well, I think the issues a lot of the issues have been mostly from the carrier side, not necessarily from the broker side. We've had issues getting some information or correct information from our current carrier for the audit, and but we've been working with them to try and get the information we need, but we have struggled this year to get that.
So here's a question I have.
yes, sir.
This is more so for staff. Now, I came in this morning with the impression that we were going to be looking at comparing these three as really more so as plans. I mean, I came in with a lot of plan type questions, but it seems like we're not comparing plans. We're just seeing who we want to hire to give our information to bring back a plan.
That's right.
And then we want to be kind of, I hate to use the word stuck, but we want to be basically looking at that one plan compared to what this group can offer us, what this group can go out and get us, what this group can go out and get us. I mean, this is just a glorified interview on who we're going to hire as a broker is what I'm seeing. I mean, these interview questions, how we want to rate them, we rate them off their answer, not off action. And so it's a little bit different than what I expected this morning. I mean,
And I've learned a lot over the last 2 years about the insurance business. It's been one of the passions that I've had to try to get to self-funded and get to the point where we can save our county money. And the one thing that I've learned that helped me understand the whole process is no matter what broker you get, they've only got 5 carriers that will provide the services. And that broker is your relief pitcher that's going to go out there and get your win. And so you've just got to be confident that the person that you hire is going to win the game for you in the bottom of the ninth
so
with your relief
each one of
pitcher.
these brokers are going to present us with a price, like he gave us what it's going to cost to hire
Yes.
this guy again?
Yes.
Okay.
In the end.
And then they can go out to market in January. That's typically our time frame, and they get bids from all the carriers. And
Blue
bring
Cross,
us that,
Coventry,
and,
United.
that process goes from January to May, where we sit down, go through all the bids from the carriers, and we try to work out a plan
So I got to
that's.
save my questions till I hear from the other two then. I mean, that's fair for an interview. I'm going to ask the same thing.
Yes.
I think it'd be important to point out is that the fee has no relationship to selling the voluntary product.
Right. The fee is
Okay.
different from the commissions.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Is that, and the fee is not contingent upon us being appointed to sell the voluntary products. We do not sell the voluntary products. okay?
Well-
We have no, well,
We could handle that part of it if you needed us to. I mean, to Heidi's point in the beginning,
Yeah.
if you want one person to bring all that stuff to you, we can do it, and we do it. It just hasn't been brought to our attention before. It seems like everybody's kind of been pretty happy. If we moved you from like a Unum or from Aflac to a Unum or Hartford as an example, you're not going to have a local guy that's going to run up and hand you a check the day after you have an accident. I mean, that's just going to change. But you might save some money for the employees. Keep in mind, the employees are paying, I don't know the number, but I'm thinking it's upwards of $150,000 a year for these products, right? And so there's a lot of commission that's being spun off of those things. And so I think you just have to make a decision. Do you want your employees to cover the all of your broker services, or are you more comfortable kind of having things sort of in a more transparent, in my opinion, and this is what we do, and we can do the voluntary products if you want us to.
Okay.
It's never, you've never brought it to my attention that, oh my God, this is just not working for us. We need a change.
Right.
Um,
And we've never had that
yeah,
complaint.
yeah.
Yeah.
Seems
Okay.
like people
Phil.
are pretty happy, so.
Yeah.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of additional notes on this is that when Brian is making reference to the large commission, that's the first year commission.
Right.
That's the first year commission. The county, in my opinion, even though we're not involved with it, have been served well by the current brokers who have handled the voluntary products. They have been in here for 30-plus years, and they have provided great service. I'm speaking on my observation. And when someone has had a claim, they have been there either that day or the next day to give them a check. So even though the employee continues to pay that premium, the broker is not making that high first-year commission. And there are a number of employees in Person County that depend on these people who have had a strong relationship with these local people and also another broker that bought these products at a certain age, and those rates are pretty much, they're not going to be coming in. And so that's important to note, is that they have been there. They have been there. And they have provided, based on the information I've heard, really great service.
So the voluntary services, those stuff like supplemental life, things like that we can add on, that employees can add on.
Vision
Right.
care.
Cancer, accident, critical illness, supplemental life, exactly.
Anything else?
I'd like to add something. I wanted to say on the pharmacy information with the savings, just know that the other carriers don't have our claims information like Scott. So just keep that in mind when you're evaluating. 'Cause
Yeah.
you have the data, they don't. So
Yeah, you
just
could
want to be
just-
fair.
You could just ask them if they have a pharmacy
Right,
coalition.
right.
That's a simple question.
Okay, thank you. All right,
Let me go get the next.
Scott Group,
Thank
thank
you,
y'all for
guys.
coming
Thank
in.
you.
Thank you very
I
much.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Can we get a recess?
Yeah, take a 7-minute recess, be back in at quarter after while we change carriers.
Okay.
All safe.
7.
Well, let me begin by thanking you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, and all administrative people with Person County Government. It's an honor to be chosen with you here this morning to share with you what Mark III employee benefits will do, both for you as administrators, but also for the employees of Person County Government. So as we get started, let me ask you a question first of all. I've got a brother-in-law he actually is coming here. I told Angie that he's coming up here to see his dad this afternoon. I think his dad is almost 90 years of age. Dolan Harris? Mm-hmm. Y'all all know him? Okay, but anyway.
Doug's in the rest home, isn't it?
I don't think.
No.
I saw him driving yesterday.
He gets around.
He's a veteran. He's a veteran.
He is remarkable to me.
Am I right?
Yeah,
He's a veteran? Yeah.
That's right, the street.
It's two Dolians, isn't it?
I only
There's
know
a Dolan
one.
Harris and Dolan
I know
Long.
one you're talking
Yeah.
about. He is remarkable to me the way he gets around, because he came last year to my niece's 1-year-old granddaughter's wedding.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for the time. It's a pleasure again to be here this morning. If you'll turn to the second slide, a little bit about who we are, just briefly. We are a company that's been in business since 1973. We're a family-owned and operated group, which is advantageous. Because the reason that is advantageous is me, someone who's working in the field, or anybody in the field for Mark III employee benefits, when we need something, we make one call on your behalf and it is done. It is taken care of, it is initiated. It says down here we have 140 plus public sector groups. We know the public sector. That is our target market, and I'll share more information about that today. We work with school systems, counties, cities, all different types of municipalities. We're a full range of employee benefit services. We work in North Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, Georgia, and we also have a foothold in the state of Alabama at this point. If you flip over to the next slide, just to kind of give you a brief outline of who we are, I put this map in here just to show you that we work from one end of the state to another when it comes to both counties, cities, school systems, and townships. But most importantly, flip over to the next slide. I put this in here because I wanted to show you who we work with regionally. People next to you. That would be this slide right here. We work with, right next door to you, the County of Vance County Government. They picked us up last year. And I'm proud to say that we saved them over $250,000 on their group medical plan. We work with Caswell County and have for a number of years. We were just awarded Nash County Government within the last 90 days. I put Halifax County Government over here because they're about you guys' size, maybe a little bit smaller. But Halifax County is a good representation of who you guys are. We also work with the city of Raleigh. We work with Durham Public School Systems, about 4,000 employees below you. We work with Alamance Burlington School Systems below you. But also I put in here, because I saw in Angie's office that she's a Duke University fan. I don't know who's any Carolina fans in here, but anyway, we work with Duke University. To my amazement, Duke University has 35,000 employees, and we take care of them on their ancillary benefits. Now, what's important though is this is just for credibility standpoint only, because this is really not important. What's important is what we will do for you, for Person County Government. That's what's important. So if you flip to the next page, there are 4 points that I'm going to talk about this morning.
Question real quick.
Yes, sir.
These clients listed here, are these current clients or clients?
Yes, sir. They are all
with?
current clients.
Okay.
Absolutely.
When did you pick up Alamance Burlington School?
Probably about 4 or 5 years ago. The 4 points that I'm going to be talking about this morning are medical consulting, guarantee issued voluntary benefits, our communication systems, and enrollment, something that really differentiates us. Flip over to the next page. The first thing I want to talk about is medical consulting. If I had to assume, I would assume that's why we're here this morning. Because looking online at what you guys are currently spending, $3.3 million, when it comes to your budgetary item, that probably ranks either 5th or 6th in expenditures. And I saw y'all had over a 13% rate increase last year on your medical plan. And that is unsustainable. Whether you like the Affordable Care Act or not, it is here to stay in some form, and it presents a lot of challenges. And my goal to share with you when we talk about the medical consulting is how we are truly a consultant and a partner when it comes to solving the medical consulting fee. Flip over to the next page. These are 4 highlights that I just put in here that I wanted to show you how we would partner with you when it comes to being chosen as your medical consultant. Number 1, we set truthful expectations and are very creative with the county's needs. How do we do that? It's really an old formula. Everybody should be aware of it. It's called SWOT, S-W-O-T. That means we're going to look at, when we sit down, if we're chosen, if we're blessed to have your business, we're going to sit down with you as a group. The administrators, Ms. York, Ms. Tate, and Angie, and the finance officer, whoever you choose to sit down in that group. And we're going to look at identify the strengths of your current plan. We're going to look at the weaknesses of your current plan. We're going to look at the opportunities that you guys have here being located in Roxborough, North Carolina on the Virginia border. We're also going to look at the threats to your plan. So that's what SWOT stands for. So that's the way that we do business. Now, the second item I put on here is we're going to do what is in the best interest of the county. We're very transparent about what we're paid and every aspect of what we do business-wise. We are very transparent. What I mean, what we're going to be doing in the best interest of the county. For example, this past year, we moved 2 of our clients, 2 county governments, to the state health plan because they had devastating claims history. I mean, they saved over $1 million by going to the state. And we helped them satisfy their retiree projects and everything. But the key thing in that is they still pay us to be their health insurance consultant, even though they've moved to the state. Very key, and we'll show you why some of that thing and what we do, why they still do that. Now, one thing I think is very important is the third item. When you look at, we have significant wellness experience. Wellness programs are something very hard to measure. We have a dedicated wellness manager who will be committed to Person County government. Two groups that come to my mind, and I think one of them was put into the big booklet that you guys have from us. City of Rocky Mount and Cleveland County government. They implemented some very definitive wellness programs, and they have been with us over a number of years, and you can see their claims history going down. So it has saved them a considerable amount of money due to the implementation of wellness programs that we have initiated. So very key with your wellness programs. I think the fourth item that I want to touch on is the book of business on this page. We do have leverage. Okay, when it comes to, especially in the medical consulting area, we're either using 1, 2, or 3 when it comes to Blue Cross Blue Shield as far as production. Either first, second, or third in the state of North Carolina. What that gives us with Blue Cross Blue Shield alone is we have our own dedicated underwriter. That underwriter knows what's expected of us. They know that we're going to be looking over their shoulder constantly, making sure that any type of increase, pharmacy, or whatever is justified, but also getting changes that need to be made to your plan design. But in addition to that, the book of leverage of business, I mentioned we have Vance County government. We are the only broker. I checked yesterday with Lisa Kinsey, who's with the League of Municipalities. The League of Municipalities now accepts county government business less than 600 lives. We take a look at that. If your self-funding plan may be out of whack or whatever, we're going to explore different options for you. We're going to bring you numerous different options all the time. But my point about bringing up the League of Municipalities, we are the only broker firm at this point that has any business with the League of Municipalities. The only one. We moved Vance County government, saved them several hundreds of thousands of dollars. We moved Hertford County government 2 years ago from Blue Cross Blue Shield to the League of Municipalities, saved them over $300,000 a year. We actually also just recently took the town of Tarboro for 2016 from Blue Cross Blue Shield to the League of Municipalities. So we have a good block of business, and we're still paid. League of Municipalities does not pay any type of commissions or whatever. We're still paid a consulting fee by all those groups because they want our consult. So that shows you the value of Mark III. Flip over to the next page, please. When it talks about medical services, again, how we will partner. This is an item that will bore you unless you're in the health insurance field. But I wanted to put this down here because this is very important for Ms. York, Ms. Tate, and for Ms. Warren, and perhaps if there's a finance officer in here.
Yes.
There we are. Congratulations on being the finance officer.
Our condolences.
Yeah, it's a very challenging job this day with health insurance, I know. But these are some of the things that we do. We have 4 dedicated health insurance consultants. There's 3 brothers that own the company in Mark III. The chief health insurance consultant is one of the brothers. His name is Mark Browder. He will meet with you and your staff on a quarterly basis. Quarterly, every 3 months. He will show you what's going on in your plan. So he's tracking his claims history with you on an individual basis. And I hate to get ahead of myself, but I'm just that type of person. I think the one thing that surprised me yesterday when I stopped by and saw the HR director yesterday at Vance County Government, Argreta Johan, whom Angie knows very well. Argreta made a comment about how happy she was with Mark III. She said, Bruce, the thing that surprised me most is that with your number of clients, and I'm going to share more information about that in a minute, is the fact that you treat us, Mark III treats us like your only client, which is very important when you have a need. So anyway, number 2 item, we're going to be making constant plan recommendations during the process. We're going to manage any requests for proposals that you may have, whether it be any type of pharmacy direct or whatever. We manage those. That's part of what we do with our consult team. We recommend wellness strategies. In addition to having the wellness fairs, we're going to do all kinds of things with the hospital here. We can do certain things. So we're very well, a big item is wellness. Again, you cannot manage it, but it's something that you can control, giving initiatives to your employees and stuff. We're very big on that in that role. We're going to look at pooling and administrative costs. I'm going to give you some examples of some different groups that we've saved money on. We're going to look at tiered networks. You guys, again, are on the border of Virginia. It may be advantageous. Do you have any employees in Virginia?
Oh, yeah.
You do? See, it may be advantageous to have some type of tiered network system. I mean, we do Dare County government, which is on the Outer Banks, and believe it or not, a lot of people there live in the Tidewater area of Virginia. Well, what we do is we have a tiered network there. So it's very advantageous to the employees as well as the cost effectiveness, which I'll get into some more of what we do for Dare County in a minute. And what I'm going to get into is right away, is because it says we have implemented direct contracts. With Dare County government, what we have done is we went to the hospital facility out there, which is jointly owned by the hospital in Greenville, North Carolina, Vidant, as well as Centera, I think is the correct pronunciation of it, which is a huge facility in the Tidewater area. Well, we went directly to them, even though Blue Cross, well, now MedCost handles their claims. At one time, Blue Cross did. We went directly outside of their discounts and went directly to the hospital there to get discounts. So that saved them administratively a significant amount of money. And that's what our challenge is to save Person County government a significant amount of money. That leads into how we're going to compare provider discounts. We're constantly reviewing dependent claims. We actually help, if you ever need to do a dependent eligibility audit, we actually manage that process. We actually saved, I think it was Robertson County government, within the last 24 months, close to $200,000 by doing an independent eligibility audit. That means simply pay people who are not eligible, if they're divorced, if their spouse is still in the plan, if they have children who are above 26 years of age are still in the plan. They did a routine audit on that to see what was going on, and it saved them over $160,000. So we can do different things. We're very creative in that. Again, the last item on that page is we had 2 counties that we helped transition to the state health plan. We manage that. We work with the retirees. So we're all about working with you on getting the best program for your health insurance.
Can I just ask on that state
Sure.
health plan, would you solicit a bid from them? And,
Yes, we go-
are they considered just like any private insurance?
Well, as
Carrier
far
might
as, far
be.
as the hospitals or whatever.
I mean, would you bring
discounts,
us the quote from Blue Cross and Blue Shield and from the state health?
Oh, well,
program?
oh, yeah, we can actually, I mean, state health plan is transparent, you see what that is.
And once you go to them, can you come back to them?
Actually, they have opened that door. When they first initiated, they closed that door and said, once you step in,
Yeah,
you're
stuck.
locked in, you're there. But now, they've given a little bit of an outlet on that down the road. So
Interesting.
that's something that people are looking at.
So is that just for retirees, or is that for
No, sir.
employees also?
That's for employees only, because what you have to do is for retirees. That's one of the things that we do, is we help manage the retirees, because retirees are not allowed to come onto the state health plan. So we manage that one. As a matter of fact, do you know Z. Lamb at Nash County Government? We were chosen by Nash County Government because of our transition experience on the medical consultant. Because we actually transitioned them right now, effective January 1st, to the state health plan. We took care of the retirees for them, and we transitioned, we helped with the group meetings of explaining to the employees the transfer from their current plan to the state health plan. We answered a lot of questions.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Aren't they currently, they were self-funded, correct?
They were self-funded.
Moved to Blue Cross, which is fully insured. or-
Nash,
Yes,
they were the state health plan.
but they were self.
That's right.
So they moved to the state level.
Exactly. They were in a very detrimental situation where they were losing over $1 million a year. I mean, it was just very, they had some very high claimants. So,
So while we were at a stop here, you mentioned League of Municipalities, and I don't quite understand that. How does that benefit Person County by, do they have a program similar to what you're talking about with the state? That
they do. They do. They have their own pool. And I'm sorry, a lot of times, as doing this for so long, I assume people know my level. And I know.
Oh, heck no.
So I'll apologize. And I'll apologize. Thank you.
No,
Mr.
I'm going to
Chairman.
ask you questions now.
Please do. They do. They have their own pool. The League of Municipalities was made up of municipalities, and a lot of small ones, like the city of Roxborough may at one time have been associated with them. Any small districts, 5, 6, 7, 10 lives, those cities or whatever, townships, they can join the League of Municipalities. A couple years ago, the League of Municipalities opened it up to county governments less than 600. And you guys fall in that category.
Cool.
And Mark Broward chose, he worked very closely with the League of Municipalities to bring Vance County government in, as well as Hertford County government.
So piggybacking on what she just asked a few moments ago is, if we decided to do state or League of Municipalities, we'd come off self-funded.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
gotcha.
Yes, sir. And we're going to be with you in that transition point, because we're going to guide that process. We're going to go to the marketplace and work with them on what's in your best interest. We're very transparent on who we work with, and we work with everybody. United Healthcare, Cigna, all of them. We work with all of them,
Gotcha.
which can be very advantageous to you. Again, on that next page on the renewal analysis, this is very important. You guys are approaching, obviously you want to make a decision as quickly as possible, because the 7/1 date will be here before you know it. I was just telling Angie as I was walking in the rain and the cold, I said, once the holidays are over with, I'm ready for spring. And once spring is here, you guys will be challenged with your new health plan. We track the claims and look for trends. The great thing about item number 2 is Mark 3 will provide estimates to you, Mrs. Finance Officer, and to whoever else, Ms. York, Ms. Tate, in 9 months in advance. We were chosen by Pitt County government. It's a self-funded plan. They have about 1,000 lives. They went directly with Blue Cross Blue Shield for years and years and years. But they saw, even though they chose us for all the voluntary benefits, about 2 months later, they saw how advantageous it was that we could save them money on their self-funded plan with Blue Cross Blue Shield. And we did. We saved them a significant amount of money. But my point about this is we met with them sometime about the middle of November, and our health insurance consultant already has given them an estimate of what their renewal will be 9 months in advance. So that gives you an opportunity to prepare, whether it's good or bad. He's no gray. He's black and white. Trust me. Mark is Mark. There's no doubt about it. You would like him, and he will address you guys on a constant basis. He'll come up here anytime that you want to. He meets with county commissioners all the time. Prior to item number 3 is even prior to receiving the renewal from any carrier or vendor, he is going to be doing his own analysis He keeps everything to himself. He knows what it should be. I think what's very important is this, for example, the city of Shelby, North Carolina. Shelby, North Carolina, 2 years ago, the 2014 to 15 year plan year, they got an 11% rate increase. Mark didn't agree with those numbers as our chief health insurance consultant. He managed to get it down from 11% to 5%. That saved the town of Shelby, North Carolina, about $150,000. And just to show how much, if it was even more warranted, for the 2015 to 2016 year, they had like a 5% rate reduction, which is unheard of this time. So he showed how it was not warranted to have 11% rate hike. But you and I, without his expertise, somebody's expertise like that, we wouldn't know. It's just like the Blue Cross Blue Shield. I take Pitt County government. If they walk in here and say, okay, Mr. Kendrick, Mr. Chairman, here's your renewal. We're Blue Cross Blue Shield. You're working directly with us. How do you know? Because they don't. You hire us to look over their shoulder, and for our experience and expertise. That's what you're hiring us for. To save you money and to challenge anybody who comes in here wanting more money out of your health insurance plan. Number 4, again, we're going to sit down and do the SWOT analysis with you, and number 5, we're going to give all the estimates. With claims activity, competitiveness of networks, we're going to explore the market year in and year out. We're going to challenge ourselves and the carriers to make available the very best, whether it's a self-funding plan or whatever. Now, before we go to the third item here, the second item, voluntary benefits, each one of you, I think, has a copy of this booklet. If you have it in front of you, turn to page 18 if you want to. Because I think this is a sample of what we've done with health plan, self-funded health plans. This is on page 18 if you want to look at that. In the middle of the page, it says a sample of health plan accomplishments. I think you guys, the biggest thing of all is about the fourth item. It says for the 2015-2016 year, Forsyth County, on their stop loss costs, we saved them $500,000. $500,000. Very significant, obviously. When I look at these are just self-funded plans that we put down some of our different accomplishments. Duplin County government, we saved them over $200,000 in the 2014 to 15 year. Even the next to last 2 items, the bulleted items, Onslow County, Gaston County, we saved them over $100,000 by going to different stop loss carriers. And if you flip over to the next page, page 19, the city of Rocky Mount, this is significant. For the 2013-2014 year, in their stop loss coverage, we saved them over $1 million. Most people don't know this, but Rocky Mount has about 1,200 employees. I would never have thought that either until I went to work with them. They have about 1,200 employees. So my purpose for putting this in this booklet is I wanted to share with you what we do for you guys on a self-funded basis. But I've told you what we've done for Vance County, Hertford County, and a number of other smaller stop-loss groups like yourself. We will work for you. We don't work for anybody else. We work for Person County government. Go back to this. We'll go back to this because I know I gotta keep going. I'm taking a lot of your time up. This next page is for voluntary benefits. Voluntary benefits are today, you have to make them very a value for your employees because of the constant. If I'm an individual who works for Person County government and I want to put my spouse on the plan, if I want to put my family on there, the cost is astronomical. So therefore, we try to make our voluntary benefits by going to the marketplace and making them the best value. If you flip over to this next page, it talks about being a true broker. We are not. We don't work for any insurance company. We work for you. We are very creative in some of the information that I'll share with you. If they're in the business, if they're in the voluntary benefits business, more than likely we do business with them. So that's just an example of who we are, a true broker when we work for you on the voluntary side. Flip over to the next page. This is very important because what is guarantee issue? That simply means this. If you have an employee who's had the misfortune of having a heart attack, cancer, or they're asthmatic, or they've had any kind of health issue, there's a good chance outside of the first year that they may not be able to get coverage. But with everything that Mark III offers, it's on a guarantee issue basis. So, Mr. Jefferson, if you're an asthmatic and you want a policy and you're an employee, then you can sign up for this policy, year in and year out. The good thing about these plans are short-term disability, whole life, any plans that you choose for us to implement, they are all portable. Sometimes our competitors like to say, well, their policies aren't portable. They are portable. Everything, if you quit, retired, or fired from Person County government, you can port your policy. Okay? It doesn't make any difference what kind of coverage it is. You can port the policy. Flip over to the next page. I put this in here because I want to kind of give you an idea of what we do. Probably about 4 years ago, the city of Charlotte, which is a client of ours that has 7,000 employees, they wanted to make a couple of additional voluntary benefits available. But they wanted it to be very transparent. Everybody wanted the Queen City's business. Everybody wanted it. So we went to the marketplace and we challenged Transamerica, Allstate, Aflac, all of them, to come up with the very best accident policy, a group accident policy. The Aflac won the bid. Aflac is known for their accident policy. We save you, save the employees of the city of Charlotte about 25% on the cost of an accident policy if I go out and try to buy an accident policy anywhere else in the state of North Carolina through Aflac. Now, what does that mean to you at Person County government? If you choose to get an accident policy right now, we would recommend you being a member of the Mark III family. You can get the same accident plan that we make available to the city of Charlotte. Because part of our contracts is this. No matter if you make available to one of our groups a voluntary benefit, we can offer it to the whole Mark III family. Now, that can be quite a bit because we have actually over 500,000 people on our plans. We do the city of Richmond, Virginia, for example, the city of Charlotte. We do quite a bit of business with some large groups, but we do, like I said, some small groups. But the great thing about that is you guys are in the winning process because you get the same benefits that they get. Flip over to the next page. I thought this was very important just to kind of give you an idea of the leverage that we have. This talks about a dental plan. Dental insurance is usually the second most requested benefit, only behind medical insurance. And is that true still? Dental insurance is? It's the second most requested benefit. I mentioned Duke University with its 35,000 employees. We do Duke University's group health dental plan. We do Wake County School Systems. As a matter of fact, Wake County School Systems, the only plan they've got about 14 or 15,000 employees. The only plan they put out for public bid in 15 years. And Pierce Group has that plan. But the only plan they put out for bid in 15 years, we won that. So we have their dental plan. And last year we saved the employees over $1 million with the Wake County School Systems. So we're very impressive on what we do on our voluntary benefit side for the employees of Mark III. Bottom line is this is our difference right here, this page here. It talks about the Mark III difference. It says in that first tab right there, underwritten in year one, no. That means no matter if you're an employee of Person County government, no matter what your health history is, you can get a policy with us. Whether it's life insurance, whether it's disability insurance, cancer policies, it doesn't make any difference what your health history is. And most carriers who come in here, most providers, whether it be the previous competitor or that comes after, they can do it in year one, but we can do it in year 2+. We do it for all our groups. So in other words, if I pass up the first year of short-term disability policy and I become an asthmatic or diabetic, guess what? I can, on year 2 or 3, I can still get coverage come open enrollment time. Very impressive in that situation. Our compensation on voluntary benefits is low and adjustable because we want to make it a value to the employees. And the good thing about it is we're very transparent on that. Now let's talk about communications. Communications. We actually are a leader when it comes to communications. We create a website for you. That website will have all the information that me as an employee needs. It has product videos. It has policy certificates, benefit summaries, claim forms, all kinds of contact information on that. In addition to creating a website for your employees, is communications. We put an example of a booklet in there. This is Iredell County, which is a client of ours. Every year, the employees get a new booklet. We put whatever picture of the group want, we change the picture every year, whatever you guys are going on. But it has all the benefits, from the medical plan to the dental plan to the disability policy. Communications is very important to make available to your groups. And the last item I'm going to touch on is the enrollment process. And I like this because this is something that I stress because I'm in the marketplace also. Enrollment services, the first item that's checked, it says we're salaried staff. Anybody who comes on the property, a person, county government, to do the enrollment, they are non-commissioned. That's something that differentiates us from our competitors. They are non-commissioned. They get paid the same thing whether they sell you a policy or not. We pay all their expenses, travel expenses, we pay their hotel rooms, everything. They are non-commissioned. The average one has worked for us 10 plus years. The great thing about that is they come from an educational format. They're not pressured to sell you a policy to pay for their costs, to pay for car payment or whatever. They are non-commissioned. That's something that's very different about us. The great thing about what we'll do is we'll do group presentations. We'll work with Angie and her staff on how she wants it done, how you guys want it done. We'll do group presentations, we'll do one-on-one counseling, and of course we do internet-based. We have a great internet system because, I mean, the city of Charlotte, North Carolina, that was one of the things why they awarded it to us, their plan, is because you can imagine they're all over the place working different shifts or whatever. They wanted an internet-based server. We can set the same thing up for Person County, not a problem. If I'm one of the new millennials and I don't want to meet with nobody, I just want to sit at home and watch Dancing with the Stars or whatever, I can punch it in and just sign up and everything's done. So it's a very simple process. We do everything online.
So do they get a password and a
Yes.
unique identifier that allows
Absolutely.
them to sign in?
Absolutely. That's what what the human resources staff will make available to the employees as a password code. So
And
they-
that code could be used to look at their website portal to see what they've used, see where they're at,
Yep.
all of that type
Yep.
stuff.
And-
Access, health and wellness, is it's all on the same?
It is. It's all on the same page. And the great thing about it is every day, Angie and her staff can actually look at it and see who signed up and who has not signed up. And the good thing is, if I'm an employee and I decide to do that on the internet, I can actually print out exactly what I signed up for. And know exactly what my payroll deductions are going to be. And actually, when the enrollment process is done, we will give to Angie and the HR staff a file key that shows if an employee pops up and says, well, I don't remember signing up for that. She can punch it up and say, well, Ms. York, you did sign up here. It's time-stamped and everything right here. What you signed up for, the night that you did it and everything. And we actually also she can print all those copies off and put them in a file if she wants to. So all that information is there. All that
Okay.
information. Good question.
On that enrollment, though, I mean, you touched on one thing just then. If a client decides that they hit the wrong keystroke and signed up for something, are they held to that for the full year or?
No. What we'll do is 90% of the time, you can only go from one page to another unless, because it will ask you a process of, is this what you want basically? You got to fill out everything on there. If they make a mistake, I mean, it should be discovered within the first 30 days of the process, but we're not going to, we work for you guys. We're going to try to be very as lenient as possible to the employees. Now, before we turn to the next page, let me give each one of you guys one of these here. There's something else that's very important.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I can't separate them. Should just pass right there. Yeah. What this is a pay. No, y'all mind helping me get this finance officer here? I think I got some extra. You got one. And everybody's got one now. These are things that I wanted to make available to you because this is what we do for our client groups at no cost. At no cost. We will make available the flexible spending accounts with a debit card on both the medical as well as the dependent care accounts. We handle that. We take care of the cost of that. COBRA administration on your medical, on your dental, and on your vision. Any COBRA costs that are associated with that, Mark III pays for that. We include that. The benefits website, we create that. There's no cost, additional cost to you. The employee benefit booklets that I mentioned and showed you, that's at our cost. Videos. Mark III is the only group that has our own media department. We actually film different things with HR, and they don't have to be benefits related. They could be safety related. Any kind of issue you got, Person County would have going on, we could actually come here and film it and share it in any way that you want to. We do a lot of benefits things during open enrollment time, but this is just some additional information. Works time, WORX time. What that is again, referring back to the Affordable Care Act, you're supposed to do the 30-hour tracking right now. The look back rule, we pay for that. Works time is a software program. I don't know how y'all doing it now. Okay. Okay. Well, if you didn't have that, we actually make that a get better. We work with Munis very closely. Munis receives our downloads. Most county governments that we work with have Munis, so we work with them very closely in that sense. So no problem on that. You get a dedicated wellness coordinator, and you get a dedicated account manager. In addition to myself, Angie and her staff will have a dedicated account manager, just like Margaretta Johan over at Vance County has. And the good thing about she is that he or she will be, she's there to handle the day-to-day issues. Now, most importantly, pass this around for me. I'll wait for everybody to get one.
While it's being passed around, I can go ahead and fill the time by asking this question, I guess. You were talking about direct contacts with local hospitals. I'm real happy to say that we have a hospital here in our county, and we need to continue to support them so that they will continue to exist. Would you work with them
Absolutely.
the same way that you were discussing earlier?
Absolutely, we go to them. Even our wellness people will go to them. Even our wellness people will go to them. We do what we do when you guys best interest and work for you. I wanted to give you this list because we are second to none in the state of North Carolina when it comes to county governments. And I'll try to give you a lot of information in a very short period of time of why people choose us. We have currently 34 county governments that we work with. There's 100 counties in the state of North Carolina. We work with 34 of them. We are a leader when it comes to county government. You're currently on your health insurance plan. You're self-funded. Nobody comes close to us in the public sector realm. We have over $250 million worth of public sector self-funding business. No one comes close. No one. As you'll see, also we have a pretty good listing of some different townships. We were just awarded the town of Asheboro as well as the town of Salisbury because just like you, they need help when it comes to their health insurance plan. The last page, I won't get into much on this as it just talks about the very last page. It just talks about a partnership on there. I think in summation, what I would like to leave you with is this thought. And this is how I try to live my life. I believe in the golden rule, do unto others as they would have you do unto them. And I believe that Mark III and myself, we try to serve you as we would want to be served. So with saying that, we work very diligently to earn your business every day, every day. So with that, I'll welcome any questions that you have.
So I got a question for Angie or Heidi or who at staff. So I learned something new every year. It's been 8th year. I learned something new. And this term, this what we call the AFLAC and all that stuff, being the voluntary benefits or services. So how do we currently do that? So I see this as saying a true broker where you could handle that for us.
Yes.
But currently, they go through you.
They go, Jeff Harris is our,
Our
Local
affluent.
agent.
yeah, local agent, and he comes to the enrollment meetings and he, does a spiel about, Aflac. And then he sets up, employees who are interested in,
He's specifically like Aflac, so, but like this Emeritus and all these other some people that we work with, each one of these people come to you?
no, Emeritus would go through the broker.
Okay.
Because that's a digital.
Right.
Yeah, and we are, just so you'll know, like Emeritus, for example, again, we're either number one or number two in the country with Emeritus. I mean, that's how we do a lot of dental business, a lot of group dental business.
So we have our sort of ancillary services separate and independent. They solicit directly to the county employees and they decide whether or not to pay for those out of their pocket.
Correct, like your Colonial, your Aflac.
So we have a choice to continue that option or to bring it all under one broker.
Yes.
I'm just not clear.
What
on
I'm
that
seeing
part
this
either.
presentation, one
They
broker
do
could
it.
do all of this
Yes, sir.
with One America,
Yes, sir.
MetLife,
I think
Emeritus,
any of the
whatever.
brokers could
Okay.
bring them in. It's just a matter of which way we want it
Right.
handled.
Like I said, the biggest thing that I think, we try to show what we can do as a whole. Because most, not all, but most, I would say probably 90% of the county governments, we take care of everything from A to Z. It could be a transition period if you wanted to. You know, a lot of groups choose to grandfather old existing voluntary products in.
That would be
We're-
important.
we're-
As well.
That's
Yeah.
what that's what
Yeah.
I'm getting at. So
Yeah.
my question is, if we were to go this true broker model, somebody like the agent that was here earlier, Bobby, that would cut him out. Is that what we were saying?
I think you could grandfather those
You
who
could.
Those
have
in.
had policies for 15 years, grandfather them in. Any new people that want to go with Aflac or new hires would go with this model that he's talking about.
Okay.
But it would
You
still
talking
cut
about new-
Bobby out, though.
For the new employees, that's what
For
you're
new
saying.
employees.
Correct, yes, that's correct.
Okay.
We're very flexible in different ways, though. I mean, if we're fortunate enough, you said, Bruce, we'd like to work with you. If I get that phone call or message or whatever, then in any way, then we're flexible. We understand the marketplace. Trust me, we do. We don't work with so many different county governments and just walk in and say, here we are. We understand that. You have local people and stuff like that. We understand that. So we'll be very flexible in that area.
Just so I understand, we were talking earlier about the ancillary offerings that you guys provide and how if you negotiate a rate for Charlotte, Mecklenburg, or someone, then it's offered to every one of your clients throughout.
We can. Now, what we do is we'll sit down, let's say, let's say that Angie and her staff would like to have the very best critical illness policy available. Then obviously, what we do is we go to different carriers, whether it's Transamerica, whether it's United Healthcare with one of their carriers, whoever. What we do is we say, okay, with our 500,000 block of employees on the line, we want the very best. And they understand because we tell them, whoever we make available for the city of Charlotte, we need to make that available also to Person County government. Look, we have groups as small as town Nags Head, North Carolina. I love that. I love having Dare County and Nags Head because I can go out there in the summertime and on business. But but anyway, don't share that with my boss, please. But anyway, but I mean, they have about 120 employees. But we make the same thing. We can make the same thing available to them that we do to the city of Charlotte. Outside the dental plan, the dental plan is based on your experience, but we're very creative in that area. Also. Good question. Very good question, though.
So what you're doing is similar to what the state does with their state health plan. They go to Blue Cross or ever who and, okay, I got 500,000 state employees here, and this is, you know, so that numbers makes a big difference to those
It
companies.
makes a big difference.
So
in that
what
voluntary
you're
market.
doing, you're basically doing the same thing.
Oh, it's a pool. I mean, that's what
So
you do.
you when you do it for one, that's what, okay.
You do it
One of
as
us,
a
what
pool.
affects the whole pool.
Yeah, but that's on a voluntary basis. Like I said,
I
on
got you.
the health insurance, the medical consulting is a different animal altogether.
I think it's very important this board doesn't leave out the long tenured employees who have set rates that are sitting there and not pigeonhole them into a new program that may knock them down in their cost because they had to change. So that's one of the big issues for me is that if we were to change voluntary programs, I can't see our long-term employees having to increase their costs because we made a decision that directly impacted them, so.
Well, Mr. Kidder, one thing I can assure you of, anything on the voluntary side is probably less than what they're paying now. Because we don't, on the voluntary side, but we're very welcome. Look, we understand the marketplace. You have a local broker, whatever, anything that you want to grandfather in, we're very flexible in that sense. We understand that, but we're not going to force anybody to take one of our policies in no way. We're very flexible in there, because I respect that, because, I mean, I've, as an independent broker for a number of years, I mean, I would lose business to a lot of different big groups that would come in, and nothing that I had done, but it's just the way things fall.
So it would just simply be another option for county employees?
Yes, we can
to-
do that very well. We welcome that opportunity. Yes, sir. Because what you'll see over a period of time, because of all the different costs, the lower costs, the things that we make available, especially the internet service and stuff like that to the younger generation, they'll want to do it. But if I'm a man my age, and I've been working for Person County government for 25 years, and the gentleman who's a local broker, and I know him, I see him when I go to church to go out to eat, yeah, I want to keep that policy. And I'm going to respectfully honor that. Good questions, though. Good questions. I treasure the respect and honor.
Any other questions? Comments? Well, thank you for coming in.
Mr. Kendrick, thank you very much. And on behalf of myself, I know let me just say, I wish you all a very Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody need another 5 minutes? Good to go?
I think so.
All right.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. All right, thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Where are you based?
My home is in Pitt County.
Okay.
I travel more three,
Who's your commissioner in Pitt County?
county commissioner.
There you go. That was a
Yeah.
deciding.
Dan
Oh,
That's it, Dan Webb. He's like the leader of the North Carolina County Commissioners Association.
He's passed.
He
You're
was.
the past president.
Oh, congratulations.
He's passed, Ray.
He's passed. I'll tell him that.
He's passed too.
Because we do have.
I was
we do-
passed before him.
Okay, because we do Pitt County government. So. Thank you again for your time.
All right, thank you. Very good.
2/3?
Yep.
2/3 through?
One of the things that I wanted to bring up, and
Thanks.
if it matters or not, is in the Mark III proposal on this prepared sheet he passed out, flexible spending accounts in COBRA are now handled differently. COBRA is handled through a third-party administrator for us, so they're including that in our,
Do we pay for
How much does
that?
that cost us?
I would have to look,
A ballpark.
100?
Can't tell you.
No. Do you know? I don't know.
I don't
Could
see
you
that
get it?
noted. And the flexible spending account goes through Colonial, and they do charge us an admin fee as well, so that's two figures that we could look to see what our.
Can you find out those costs
Please
before
find
they
those.
get through?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thank you for pointing that
Please.
out.
Yeah.
I like
It's good to know.
too,
Go ahead.
in terms of just getting the numbers to us early, that's always an issue for us during budget time. I mean, as you know, but that's significant.
We're just talking, you guys are up, so.
Everybody doing well this morning.
No. Is this considered a gift? No.
You're safe. It's probably not $50.
It's got posted.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, sir.
Give it to us.
All
We're
right,
ready to roll.
all right, that's how I give it to you.
I'm sorry.
Folks, I'm Glenn Pierce, and I have with me today Donald Nixon and my son Chris Pierce. I have been blessed for 68, since 1968, excuse me, to be helping public sector employees across the state. In the year 2000, we formed Pierce Group Benefits to help bring a one-stop shop to the program. And it has really been something that's helped well across the state. Today, 150,000 employees we help with this program. We know public sector business, just what we do. As far as here in Person County County Schools, excuse me, is one of our accounts. Roxborough Community Schools, City of Roxborough, and we like very much to make county government one and help people here, really would. With the time that we've been allotted this morning, which we greatly appreciate, and I want to be mindful of, I'd like to turn it over to Donald Nixon to give you the details. Thank you.
And just so you guys know, we haven't put a time limit on anyone. I would appreciate if it doesn't end up being 2 hours, but take all the time you need to make your presentation. We haven't put a time limit on anyone else.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Does this control the slides? Great.
Maybe. It does have a little switch on the side. There you go.
Great. Thank you. Again, my name is Donna Nixon, and it's a pleasure to be with you here today. Wanted to just spend a little bit of time talking about our approach. It's really 3 basic principles that we build our relationships with our clients. The first one is to listen. We want to make sure that we spend the time that we need to with each and every client to hear what the concerns are. We want to work in partnership with each client, and then we want to deliver solutions. And we've had the pleasure to really review the RFP very thoroughly, and we've had some previous conversations with your staff. And we know that you are have some challenges, employer challenges that result around cost containment, struggling with trying to curb the high costs of health insurance and benefit administration, limited resources to manage those benefits. County governments have to do more with less every single day. You don't have the luxury of having huge benefit departments like some private employers of your same size would. Employee engagement. You all moved to a self-funded platform very recently. Employee engagement is really the key component in driving down those costs. And it's very difficult for a small benefit department sometimes to take on that employee engagement piece. And then really, you want to provide coverage to meet all of your employees' needs. So we could see throughout the RFP a lot of discussion about that one person kind of managing all aspects of benefits. And that is what we've been able to bring to our county governments for a number of years. What that does, it really not only streamlines things from an administration standpoint, it really improves the services to the employees. Having to be able to have all of their benefits managed by one person really does allow that employee to have one place where they need to go for all of their questions to be answered. And so that's why most of our clients have moved to that one-stop model. So our focus for each and every client is to provide comprehensive, superior benefits at the very lowest costs, to improve your efficiencies, to make benefit administration easy, to institute cost-saving measures throughout the benefit program to manage all costs, not just year one costs, but all of your future costs. And that is by being able to provide early forecasts and really working with the population of employees to manage those costs. And then the last one is to educate the employees on the value of the benefits that are being offered. It really, for a self-funded program, I cannot reiterate enough how important it is to educate your employees. I understand that most people don't love insurance like I do. They find it a little intimidating and maybe kind of confusing. But we really try to stick with the basics. What's driving up your costs are the claims that are being incurred. Who's incurring the claims? Your plan participants. So what do we do to engage those plan participants and teach them how to start lowering those costs? But more importantly, showing them why they should want to, right? We need to show them why do we want to lower Person County's health claims costs. And really that education piece really is what is going to bring those types of results. So based on those employer challenges and our focus, we feel that we put together the right solutions. As far as cost management goes, our industry knowledge and market strength allows us to be your champion when we're looking at your comprehensive benefit package. We utilize the strength of the 150,000 members that we have today to really leverage and make sure that you're getting the very best costs. Wellness communications and programs, we want to make sure that you have the right programs in place. When you think about that comprehensive benefit package, Your employees are really looking to make sure that they have benefits that are of value to them, that they meet their individual needs. We also want to make sure that that benefit package is helping you as a county control your costs. That one-stop shop allows us to make sure that the voluntary benefits that you're offering are working in conjunction with your employer paid and not against. We also want to make sure from a compliance standpoint that those plans have the things in them that are necessary to make sure that your entire benefit package is compliant. Administrative time savings. We offer and include a online enrollment portal for our employees to engage in self-enroll. What's interesting is our very largest client has about 15,000 members, Wake County Schools, and over 98% of those employees still enroll with the help of a benefit counselor. Even though they all have access to the same online tools, they want to meet one-on-one with a benefit counselor. And so I'll talk a little bit about that as well. Administrative time savings, HR compliance, payroll deduction. We work with Munis, that is your current payroll provider, to be able to upload your enrollment deductions. So what does that mean? So for folks in your payroll department today, after open enrollment, people make changes. Oh, I want to add a spouse, I want to drop a child. Somebody in finance is probably keying those into the payroll system. We can actually upload those with basically two kind of keystrokes to make all of that information merge into that. COBRA administration is another area of huge time and liability for your administration staff. Benefit communication and engagement. So I talked about at the very beginning, being self-funded, the best way to reduce your costs is going to be to educate your employees, to reduce your claims costs, as well as making sure that those benefits are paired with the right providers and the right partners to be able to provide those services. Our model includes one-on-one benefit counseling. So I said at the beginning, not everyone loves insurance like I do. Most people are pretty intimidated by insurance. The reason you're offering a benefit package is to help you attract and retain the very best talent possible. If they don't understand the benefit package that you're putting together for them, there's no way for them to value that benefit package. So if we can offer one-on-one benefit counseling, we can take the time to meet with each employee and develop what is it that your employee needs. Every one of your employees probably has different needs based on where they are with their family. Let us help them design the package that meets their needs. What will that do for you? It will help build employee loyalty. It'll help build employee appreciation for the benefits and the investment that you've made. We want to provide access to information, and we do that through a number of ways. We have customized benefit booklets, and I think we included a copy of Alamance County Government's booklet in your proposal. That one-stop shop allows employees to have one central place for all of their benefits. So they can, have this book. They also have access to all of that information online. And we also create customized benefit videos. Most folks are not aware we actually have a full-time videographer in our marketing department that works alongside with our other media folks to create videos that are meaningful to your employees, to try to help make sure that we're producing information in all the different mediums that everybody likes. Some people like to read, some people like to watch videos, some people like to be able to access information 24/7 online. We make sure our model can do all of those things. And that employee financial protection. Again, we want to make sure that your comprehensive benefit package is designed to really offer financial protection to the employees so that they value and appreciate those benefits. We want to offer our benefits on a guaranteed issue basis so that people who may have been turned down in the past due to health reasons will not be turned down. We want fast, reliable claim service. And we want the ability for employees to choose. A group your size, choice is very, very important. Your employees have invested a lot of time and money into certain benefits that they are enrolled in today. We want to ensure that they can maintain that level of benefits if they choose, and have the benefit counseling to design a package that's meaningful to them. So moving to money saving strategies, I talked a lot about finding the right partners. We use our market strength and industry knowledge to be sure that we're evaluating all the aspects of your benefit program. Being self-funded, it's really important to take a look at your stop-loss options. That is a market that has changed tremendously, and it changes a lot every year. It is very important to look at all those stop-loss options. Pharmacy benefits management. We have a lot of experience in really evaluating that pharmacy benefit for your employees. Being self-funded, that allows you the flexibility to have a different pharmacy benefit manager than you do a health claims administrator. We find a lot of value in doing that, and can bring some real significant savings. Pharmacy is the piece that is moving at the highest amount as far as increase goes. Cost of prescription drug benefits are showing right around 25% in most county governments, where 5 years ago it was closer to 12%. A lot of that is driven by the industry, but a lot of it can also start to move back in your direction by using the proper pharmacy benefit management partner, the right cost containment programs in your pharmacy benefit management program, and education of employees. On-site health clinic. We've got 2 groups not far from here, Alamance County and Rockingham County government, that utilize on-site health clinics. On-site health clinics can be put in place very, very affordably and can provide a tremendous value to a self-funded employer and to the employees by making access to care even greater. So that's another area we would look at. Health pricing tools. There's a lot of good health pricing information that's available to employees. The problem is it appears to be very intimidating when you don't know how to access it and how to use it. And again, that time that we're going to spend with the employees educating them on how to do that will translate into savings for you all. Wellness initiatives. I am very, very passionate about really health, consumerism, education, and wellness. It really does start with the leadership teams. The counties that see the best results as far as wellness goes has a leadership team that provides the access to the employees. So I can't do wellness for your employees. I can only engage your employees to be a partner with us to work in wellness. That requires time. So the groups that allow us access and time with employees are going to see the best results as far as wellness goes. It isn't something that you can just, snap your finger and overnight receive those results, but it will move in the right direction if you put the time in and the investment, and we're willing to do that. Other money-saving strategies is increase flexible spending participation. That provides FICA savings to the county. We are, I believe, one of the only carriers that can provide aggregate loss protection for the FSA plans, meaning that the county has no risk for offering that benefit. Teaching employees the value of that, where they can put money tax-free for health expenses that they're already incurring, is very, very powerful. Some folks will have up to 30% savings in that regard. Because we take that comprehensive approach, we utilize gap plans to help lower health coverage costs. That is one thing that more and more folks are looking at, is making sure that they have the right gap plan so that it alleviates some of the pressure off of that health plan. And then lastly, introducing health savings accounts. Health savings accounts is a great, great way to really build that culture of health consumerism in your group. A group your size could offer multiple health plans, one of which could be a health savings account for those folks who are in a position to take advantage of that as well. As far as administrative services, I mentioned the payroll deduction upload capability. This is a huge time saver for your HR and your finance staff. It also increases the accuracy of payroll deductions. We do provide on-site account management, and that really does take several forms. We have an account manager who works on the day-to-day activities and would be assigned to help HR and finance with those things. And we have a benefit consultant team that works with your leadership team and with your board to really work through what is it that you want your benefit program to do for you. How can we customize these programs to bring you the results that you're looking for and to bring you the savings? That on-site and online enrollment. We know that more and more people want to have access to all information 24/7. We make that available. But we pair that with a benefit counseling team that is here on site to work with your employees. That saves the time to your HR department that they don't have to do that either. And then Easy Bill, as far as making sure that billing reconciliation is an easy process. Compliance, now more than ever, you need to have a partner that can provide you with up-to-date compliance information. We know that there are going to be changes occurring starting next month, and they're going to be fast and furious, and you need to make sure that you are partnered with somebody who can not only tell you, hey, this is what the law has done, but also interpret that for you to say, this is the action that you need to take. And so we do break that down for our clients and let them know these are the steps that you need to follow, and here's the documentation that you need to do so. Here's just some examples of that employee education. The customized benefit website, the on-site assistance, the booklets. One thing I didn't mention is our service center. So one of the things that we hear the most from our clients as far as that follow that comprehensive package is the beauty of having our service center. So we make a toll-free number available, and it is staffed with 8 licensed agents to take calls from your employees. When that employee calls, perhaps they are going through some rehabilitation therapy because they suffered a heart attack. They're probably most concerned about their health benefits, and they're going to be able to answer those questions about those health benefits. They're also going to be able to look at the rest of the benefits that they are enrolled in and be able to answer those questions as well. So maybe they have a critical illness policy, and they can say, oh, well, did you file your claim? Oh, no, I forgot that I had that policy. Well, let me help you, file your claim and so that you can get that benefit to help your family. That is just a really, really nice resource for your employees. So how do we deliver all of these things? It's really the great team of people that we have working on your behalf. You can see we have multiple different departments in our organization. They specialize in what they do, but they all do work in tandem with each other to ensure that your employees and your staff get the very best service possible. So why transition to Pierce Group? We really do think our insurance benefits, our market strength that we have, being able to shop the market not only for your health plan, your dental, your vision, but all of your supplemental benefits as well, providing those guaranteed issue benefits and that competitive pricing, and the compliance assistance. All of our supplemental policies are portable, which means employees can keep what they have. Like I said, your employees made investments, probably some a long time ago. We want to be sure that those employees have access to maintain those policies if they wish. We want to utilize the best technology, online enrollment, payroll uploads, paperless claims, and claims analysis. I didn't talk too much about the claims analysis piece, but as far as being self-funded goes, looking at those claims is really what drives what types of health consumerism and wellness initiatives we want to put in place. It doesn't matter today what wellness initiatives I like until I take a look at your claims and figure out what does Person County need. And that's what we're going to work with together to make sure that we're providing programs that actually meet your needs. Our service model, that full service call center, our account management, the time investment that we make in our technology and our service model not only translates to time savings for your staff, but it translates to improved services for your employees and cost savings results. And then that communication, making sure that employees, one, know what benefits they have, understand the value of what those benefits are, and how to be good healthcare consumers to save you money, and how that benefits them in the end. That on-site enrollment, and being able to have a one-stop shop phone number to call for service. So I know I went through a lot of information there. We certainly are open to entertaining any questions. We did want to be mindful of your time today. So I thank you for your time and attention.
This group here on the map, this is your current clients, or just people you've worked with in the past, a total, or?
Those are our current clients as of the date we submitted the request, the RFP.
HSA, that's the health spending account, not the MSA medical, where you lose it at the end of every year, correct?
Right, so an HSA is a health savings account that is employee-owned. An FSA, I think, is probably what you were referring to, a flexible spending account.
Yes.
Does have a use it or lose it rule.
Right, okay.
There is a carryover provision that you can offer to employees if you'd like. The biggest thing with that use it or lose it rule comes down to employee education.
Right.
And our benefit counselors are very, very versed in helping employees try to figure out how much money to put in there so that they don't lose any money.
Aren't the benefits of the HSA a lot greater than the old FSAs that you lose it or use it or lose it because they get tax incentives, plus moving forward you can use it as a account for as you get older?
Yeah, so health savings accounts by far is really the very best investment tool out there.
So I still carry FSA.
You have to have an eligible health plan that meets the criteria to be able to open an HSA. So your health plan today does not qualify for HSA accounts. But that, like I said, we could offer different plan choices, or you could do a full replacement to have an HSA account put in place.
Is it because we're self-funded, or?
No, so the IRS determines what your health plan has to look like in order for you to be eligible to open an HSA account. One of the biggest things that is removed from that health plan are copays. So you're not allowed to have a benefit plan design that has copays. And then there are certain criteria as far as how much your out-of-pocket needs to be for you to be eligible to offer or to open an HSA account.
Okay.
But again, you know, that is one thing that we are seeing more groups looking at. The best practice really is offering your traditional PPO plan with copays alongside a qualified high deductible plan that meets that criteria for HSAs, and then really having that employee education. So we just recently helped Mecklenburg County government educate their employees. They offered a HSA account for the very first time and asked our team to come and be responsible for educating employees on the value of that HSA. And I'm very pleased to say we got 26% participation this first year into that HSA account. Typically, it takes 3 years to reach 30% participation. It really does come down to that education.
Did the employer offer any incentives for the first 26% that went into it, or was it just a voluntary basis?
They did offer an employer contribution into that HSA account.
Your on-site representatives that come during enrollment, are they hourly salary, or do they work on a fee-based for the additional services that you provide?
Sorry, we talked about maybe I help some.
Oh, certainly,
Chairman
yeah.
Kendrick, if you don't mind. We actually have them both ways. We have some salaried folks that could come. We do not hire an enrollment firm, though, to where they bring folks in from out of state or whatever. These are local North Carolina folks that we use, and we have some that are on a commission type basis. We've always done those roles simply because they have a vested interest in treating the folks here, long term, for doing the right thing, communicating the gap plans with the health plans to make sure we get them in the right, that employee fits, where they need to go. So we have them both ways. If y'all have a preference on how anyone's to be compensated on that, we're more than happy to, we do that. So that's no problem.
I've learned a lot today during this process, and I thought I knew just a little bit about health insurance, but would you allow some of the stopgap or supplemental benefits to remain in place with our current provider if you were to come in and offer us the health insurance benefits?
Yes, sir. So, like the current supplemental providers y'all have currently, you want to make sure they, grandfather stay in place?
Just asking a question,
Right.
not making sure that.
Right, right. Well, we're more than willing to do that. We did it for your school system here. Let those folks keep those plans. They're good plans. They've been paying on them for years. There's definitely some more modern, those plans are kind of like computers. They need to be upgraded periodically, but some of those plans historically have some really good benefits. So we encourage you to allow us to keep those on payroll, and we'll continue to pre-tax them so the employee will, not miss any advantage there, and the county will save their FICA as well. It's a pretty big difference with Pierce Group. We don't move those policies to another carrier, on a what they call conditionally renewable basis. So I've heard, there's all sorts of different carriers that are quickly entering the market for supplemental. We traditionally like to negotiate with the ones you have in place currently. It is to your employees' advantage. So.
Under your customized wellness programs, you touted in one of your bullets about a group that's obviously had a lot of participation. They saved like $91,000 on first year savings. Is that accredited to the program, or was it a requirement from the group to participate, or?
So first, the leadership team did not say it was mandatory, but they strongly encouraged the employees to participate. They also allowed work time for the employees to actually do all of the activities. And then we came on site to work with the employees one-on-one. We know a number of employees, don't necessarily work at a desk or even in this building. So they allowed us to have some real flexibility with, pulling different shifts of folks kind of in to engage them in the activities during work time. And so they really did, they made it fun. They gave raffles and contests and prizes away to really encourage those folks to do it. Of course, they also paired that with education as to, hey, this is what our claims have been doing. If they continue to go in this direction, we may not be able to continue to fund at 100%. We want to be able to continue to fund at 100%, but we need your help. So there wasn't a penalty, so to speak, at that phase, but they gave them enough information and encouragement to participate.
Any other questions, comments? All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all coming in and making your presentation.
Thank you very much.
We'll be in touch. Since I'm not a professional, and we got some professionals in here, are there any questions you guys or any comments that you would make that could help us from staff move further along? So I don't know, yo.
That information for us?
We've got COBRA. Last year for COBRA for the fiscal year was $2,800. They're working on the task, which is the flexible spending account. It's not easy to pull that number, so finance is working on trying to get that number for us.
I'll just reiterate Sybil's comment about the lead time in getting those estimates. And
It's critical.
I can't tell you
So
how,
you like the 9 months ahead?
I can't tell you how helpful.
That would be a deal
I mean,
changer for the budget
That is
process
a,
as a
yeah.
whole.
Oh, it's
I mean,
definitely a game changer.
that changes the entire budget process
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah, we are scrambling, since I've been here every year at the very last second to get those actual numbers in. And, that's when errors get made, when you're forced to, change things at the last minute. So it's scary, actually. So, we've been fortunate that there hasn't been any errors, but, that's the kind of situation that allows for that.
It's been a big struggle last many years to get that data so late in the game. It makes it hard to focus on other parts of the budget because you're scrambling trying to make sure that you've got that information incorporated in the budget correctly. And it is such a has such a large impact on the budget, so you want to get that piece right. If you've got that much time to get that piece out of the way, then we can focus on other parts of the budget, which can be just as important. So I do like that. The other thing I did hear from Mark III that I thought was great was the fact for their flexibility and willingness to work with our local partners, such as the hospital. I thought that was genius, because I just think that can benefit our community as well as our employees. So
Yeah, I like
So
that.
I
did like that.
I didn't hear it, but it could be in one of these books. Did anyone else ask for a 3-year commitment?
Nobody else did.
Do we currently have an employee benefit book?
We do not.
I do like the website for both Pierce and Mark III that gives employees a lot more hands-on information about their benefits. It just seemed like they have a lot more options in that area than we've had previously. So I did like that.
Well, just from a personal standpoint, one of the things that Duke Energy's allowed us to do is go onto our health site portal and look up what benefits we've had, what benefits we've used, what may be outstanding and everything. So I like being able to go on at my own time, whether I'm sitting at home on the couch or whether I'm at work at lunch doing something and seeing what my benefits are and seeing where I've gotten. So to me, that was big. I loved the hospital part of it, where they would work with the local hospital, because like you said, it's a gym in our community, and we really need to do all we can do to keep it going, because if you've never been in a community that you had to ride to Durham or Raleigh because you don't have a local hospital, it really changes your perspective on life. And I know at times we poor mouth it and we talk bad, but there's certainly instances in every community where you can find something that you don't like or you can criticize. So I take that with a grain of salt at times and say that we do have a gym here, and I like the fact that they would work with them and keep it a viable part of our community.
One thing I did not like was the asking for a 3-year commitment and then saying, well, there's always a way out of a contract. But sure it is, but most time it involves paying.
Well, they call it a contract, but technically, to me, it's an agreement. I don't really see it as a binding contract.
Sounded like it was non-binding.
Yeah, I mean, just an
Maybe
opinion.
maybe a poor choice of their words then, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, I hadn't said anything, but
Contracts.
when we got through
It
it,
doesn't matter what it's
Yep.
called.
Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, legally, it doesn't make any difference whether I call something a contract, an agreement. It is or is not legally binding. You can call it an agreement or you can call it a contract, but the importance is what do the words say
And what we agreed
and
to.
what we agree to.
Jimmy?
I will comment that after we got through with our meeting that day, I asked Commissioner Newell, I said, well, what do you think? And he said, well, until they do the presentations, I don't know, but I can tell you that what I've seen right now, and now he'd done some more research, because he called some people. I don't know who all he called. He's not here today to tell us that, but he was leaning toward Mark III, is where he was leaning at, but he said, I hadn't heard all the presentations. But that was a comment he made. He said, just seeing what I've got here, and I don't know who all he had contacted. Now, he did contact some people, am I correct? He said he did, but he didn't tell us who he contacted. He just said, he said, well, I talked to some people too. So he made some phone calls or something.
Well, I started out prior to the presentation saying that, to me, cost was one of the things that I have tried to look at over 2 years, and my original comment was that cost was going to be up front, but running parallel with it was the benefits that they provided, and seeing the numbers that were presented and the programs and the supplements and the different benefits that were provided. I'm with Jimmy in saying that Mark III, for me personally, hit it out of the park, because not only did they hit the price point, but they also presented a lot of information to lean lean towards those. So, or anyone else? Are we gonna leave here with proposals, or are we gonna go home and sleep on it and pray about it?
Well,
or-
you get 3 big books here, and we didn't have access to before that, and I often like to read the fine print on it, and I think do our due justice on it.
I could promise you that you're gonna be lobbied hard if you
I'll
leave
tell
here today and don't make a decision.
I also wanted to throw out on the Mark III, the fact that they would look at the League of Municipalities and the state plan makes that very unique. We've not had that opportunity with the state plan necessarily. And so, you know, I like the idea that they would solicit from all the carriers and also submit these 2 public sector, you know, options just as a way to keep our prices competitive.
Well, I'm leaning toward Mark III. They're the only ones that told us really the savings that they've accumulated, and they're still willing to work with our local. What's the correct term? Voluntary
Representative.
Services.
Voluntary services,
people.
supplemental.
That's right. And so
The other thing was too, they offered salary-based people, not commission-based people, to
Yeah,
come and do
that's
your
pressure.
sign-up. And so there's no pressure to get an employee to sign up for life insurance if they're 18 years old and starting and don't have any obligations. So that was, to me, big. I'd rather buy a car from a guy that gets paid a salary than a commission.
On the other hand, that might mean they're paid well anyway. Don't have to worry about a commission.
Well, it could, yeah, you're right.
They're still the cheapest.
I mean,
Well-
there's 2 ways of
Do
looking
y'all
at
have
it.
anything else to follow up on?
I wanted to add about the ACA with Mark III, the time that we spent with Affordable Care Act, the support that it seems that they can give for their works time, which is a program, is very intriguing to me because the time that we spend doing things on the ACA side, I feel like it would be a benefit on our side to look at the works time that they, and even peers, they mentioned the support too with ACA. So that would be maybe cost saving on the labor side on our end.
And I agree with Heidi about the state health plan and med costs. Several years ago, we actually went out like on our own and got quotes from the League of Municipalities through med costs, which was cheaper back like 4 or 5 years ago. So I like the fact that they would explore. It seems like, you know, Scott and Thompson Allen push Aetna because of the deep discounts, and which is not a bad thing, obviously, but it's nice to explore other companies as well.
Motions, proposals?
Motion that we bring it up at the next, have a decision made at our January 9th meeting.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, make a substitute motion that we go ahead and do it today while we're here and be done with it. Our group needs to know. And I think the majority of this board is interested in Mark III, so I would make a substitute motion that we go ahead and do it
with Mark III.
with Mark III.
Okay, we have a motion and a substitute motion on. Any discussion? All in favor of the substitute motion to go with Mark III, please indicate by raising your hand. Okay, it passes, so Mark III is our representative. Any other discussion?
Thank y'all for your time on this. This was a big investment on your parts for today, so thank you for that. One other item is that I would like to set up a tour of the senior center property with you all and have Maynell kind of walk us through where certain services would live. So please stay tuned for me to try to set up some dates that would coordinate with Maynell's schedule and yours as well. We were going to try to do it this afternoon and it just couldn't work out with everybody's schedule. So I will get that slated and scheduled for y'all soon.
When are they out of the building?
We haven't made that decision
We
yet.
haven't made a decision yet.
Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, and the Wesleys are asking to remain in place through the end of the calendar year. So we would agree to.
Have they
allow
given the people that's in there their 30-day notice?
that.
They're flexible. I would hope, and I know because Sharon is next door, they're already working on replacing the hairstylist into another facility. I personally would like to see like a 3-month transition, that we agree to moving in like in March, so that it allows them the time to transition out, do whatever they have to do with their existing members, since we discussed last night the county not running a fitness facility. So I would think that that would give them ample amount of time to get moved and get out and have a good, easy transition without people stepping on each other's toes. But that's just Tracy's personal opinion.
So the only concern I would have with that is, then if they're going to run the facility for another 3 months that we've already paid for, they're collecting obviously the money from that. I mean, you know, are we going to lease it to them for 3 months? Are we going to rent it to them? Are we going to, what are we going to do?
I think, Mr. Chairman and Board, if you decide to go with the 3 months, you'd want to have a clear lease contract with them, whatever compensation you want, and making it clear on the liability end that we have no responsibility while they're operating under our lease.
So I guess the conversation would be, talk to the Wesleys and say, when can you be out? When do you want to be out? And if you want an extended period of time, then we have to draw up a lease agreement.
Okay.
We good with
So
that?
up to 3 months transition.
But they would pay us an agreed upon lease amount.
Okay.
That was one of the questions for clarification purposes that I had, is that we, in payroll, the county side, we have several county employees that we do a deduction for their gym fees through payroll. So I didn't know if that needed to continue coming up for our December payroll, or do we halt that, and do we pull those deductions out?
How many would you say are members?
Do you know, Angie? Maybe about 25?
Yeah.
It's not that many. It's just a handful, but I just.
I don't know. I think I would tell them first of the year, y'all don't need to be doing that. I mean, you know, I would say
At the end
go
of
through
December.
December and say January, we're no longer, will be deducting this out. If you're going to continue to go for 3 months or whatever we lease for them, then you need to get with the Wesleys on whatever you want to pay, you know.
Okay, so we need to make that, go ahead and allow that last.
Communicate.
I would. I mean, I'm just.
Yeah.
Communicate with them and stop the
payroll.
deduction.
And one more comment about that I meant to, probably should have come up last night during the conversation, but there is a 60-day window of time from the time that we actually purchased the facility that we can include that cost in the borrowing. And so I will need to bring to you in your January meeting a reimbursement resolution that says we intend to borrow money to pay ourselves back for the cost associated with the acquisition of this property, plus any renovations for a maximum amount of, you know, whatever we need to put in the resolution. That maximum amount does not mean that that's how much we will borrow. That just means that you have the authority to borrow up to that amount. So I didn't want you to be alarmed when you got the resolution in January, because I'll probably tack on just enough to be sure that we are covering the amount that you want to borrow to do the renovations as well as the acquisition. And I wanted you to be aware that that was not tying you to borrowing that exact amount. It was just I had to set that cap. That's part of the resolution.
I believe the closing is scheduled for the 16th of December on that property. So we'll have to have an agreement, I think, to go from the 16th to the 31st, if they'd like to keep the gym open, which was my understanding.
That, I understand that for their own tax purposes, they wanted to close by the end of the calendar year. A question could be, would you be willing to make that the absolute end of the calendar year, so we wouldn't have to deal with the 15-day lease period. I'm not sure they would, but it would be worth exploring, and we would avoid that 15-day period from the.
So we're not going to meet again after this.
Right.
So what direction, or I mean, how can we give this leeway to you with our understanding? I mean, if you talk to them and they say, okay, we would be interested in doing some type of lease, we know that would have to come back to us in January. If they're saying, no, their hard time, they want to be out is the end of December, what do you need from us?
What would that look like?
I'm making this up. It appears to me that you could decide now, I know it's hard on this last minute, but you could decide a reasonable monthly rental amount is X. You could then authorize the staff, authorize the chair to sign a lease agreement for a period from 15 days to 3 months, very flexible, at a lease rate of X dollars per month. Then we could draw the lease so that if it's 15 days, it's 1/2 of whatever that amount is, and we'd make sure that the legal protection to you during that 15 days were there. But I think you could authorize prospectively the chair to sign a lease for an amount a time to be determined. If that's what you want to happen, you want the manager, the staff to negotiate with them. Do they need 15 days? Do they need 3 months? It's a lot of authorities, but I think you trust your staff to figure that out. The most important thing is, what's the rate? Because that's what.
I think we learned earlier that it's been a little bit of time, but in Roxborough, they were getting somewhere in the neighborhood of $10 per square foot. So we could put it in as a square foot rate or just a flat rate.
In their financial statement, the fitness center is paying rent. I'm not sure what their legal setup looks like, but they did show a line item of about $5,000 a month that they were paying, we assume, to maybe Tony Wesley, but I'm not sure. But so they are currently paying rent on that fitness facility space, just as way of context.
So is the hair salon also in the same line item as far as paying rent?
We couldn't tell.
We really didn't get enough information to tell from the statement. It looked like they were also getting rental income, which means they were collecting rent from possibly other businesses that were in that
The photographer
building.
and all that stuff.
Yeah, but
It
but
wasn't
I don't know
broken
where
out
the
for
rental income
service.
was coming from. I don't know if it was coming from them as well as the hair
Internal.
salon. But my guess is, from some other information I had gathered, is that it is, part of it's coming from the hair salon. But their rent expense that was on their statement was their largest expenditure. Yes.
But they
And
did
so-
break out that the gym portion paid X amount.
Yes.
Yeah, the gym memberships.
No, the rent
The rent.
on the gym piece.
Oh, the rent, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's this group over here paying PCC?
What are they paying for the workforce development
The
center?
lease, uh-huh.
They're not paying anything.
I thought they were.
They were when they were getting the money, but when we
They-
decided
they
we were
were
going to get the money, we didn't get any
charging
more.
People,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
we don't charge the community college anything.
So what was that amount that they were getting?
It's like $200
A month.
or something.
Oh,
For office
150
space.
or something.
I didn't know. I
Since
thought it
they,
broke
since
down
they
to square
pulled
foot.
out, would y'all authorize me to sign the lease agreement? Since they had already apportioned $5,000 a month just for the gym, could we just bundle the hair studio, photography studio, and the gym under one lease agreement for $5,000 a month if they intend to stay in for 3 more months? And if they only want to stay until the end of it, it'd be a $2,500 lease.
So I have no.
You can prorate it
I
based on
don't
how
know
many
anything
weeks.
about the hair salon, but I mean, it's run by the Wesleys. I mean, it's their business. I mean, it's not someone else that's renting space. Okay, that's fine. You want to group it?
I'm not really clear on that either. to be
I'm not
honest.
clear on that, but I'm thinking that they were paying rent.
They,
That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
each individual hairstylist paid X amount of dollars per week.
The
Yes.
booth rent. That's
Yes.
correct.
That's correct.
To the Wesleys.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, it sounds like then you're moving toward a rate of $5,000 per month. The term depended upon the negotiation, how long that lasts. My guess is that if they say, no, we can't pay $5,000 a month, this board says, well, on closing, you're out then. Is that right? Is that your intention? On closing, you're out. It's our property. We have a right to receive rental for our property. We just paid you for the property, so you're out if you can't meet our $5,000 per month. Is that what you want?
Is the board okay with that?
So the church is gone. The church is
That's
already
what
moved.
we understood.
Okay. So we're just talking gym and salon.
And I think the photography studio is probably on the way out because of her job too.
Okay.
She was just
I
named.
think she'd already closed it, I saw on the
So-
blog.
Okay.
Okay, so
So-
we'll prorate if they'd like to stay through the end of December, which I think is what Scott Wesley had indicated for the gym operations due to his membership fee structure. We would just prorate the $5,000 a month for those couple of weeks.
So, Mr. Chairman, if that's what the board wants to do, since it's dealing with the real estate, you would want a motion to specifically authorize the chair to sign a lease
So
contract on those
tell me what the
terms.
motion should be.
The motion should be, we move to authorize the chair to sign a lease with, whatever name we are.
Westland Incorporated.
They have several corporate names, we'll get who owns the property, for an amount of $5,000 per month at a term to be negotiated up to 3 months between the owners and the staff.
So moved.
Don't ask me to say it again.
Brenda's got
That's
it.
why I asked you to say it the first time.
Okay.
All in favor, please by indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. There's no longer any more business. Adjourn.
Just like that thing.
I like that. First time anybody